and managed to win Grand Prix.
Absolutely, in a time where there was no budget cap, and it was tough times in Formula One. Good evening, everyone. By the way, yes, Eddie Jordan. He would not just. He was a racer himself. He raced himself, but he was a shrewd businessman, and that's what as I said, to get a team to the top, takes a lot of courage and a lot of skill, and he was a character that'll be very, very sorely missed in Formula One. Are we working properly? We've got people saying
we are working. Yeah, no, we are working properly.
Okay. So the passing of Eddie Jordan, very, very sad day in motorsport today. No doubt there will be tributes over the weekend, which will come flooding in for him. Yeah,
no doubt there will be. Obviously, with the Formula One in China, it will probably be mentioned a couple of times over the weekend, but what a guy he was. Like we said, 4 Grand Prix wins in Formula One. He actually took I watched a little video earlier when he started in his Formula 3 days as team owner. Martin Brundle was his first driver, and he actually took Martin Brundle to second place in that first championship, losing out to Ayrton Senna.
Well, so, if you're going to lose out to someone, then
hey.
They don't get much bigger than that. Of course, he gave Michael Schumacher his debut in Formula 1 as well, for not very long before he got snapped up by Benetton. But
Rubens Barrichello debut. I think Ralph Schumacher, Eddie Irvine all got their debut underneath Eddie Jordan. Martin Brundle got Formula 3. Johnny Herbert was Formula 3 with Jordan. That was his debut. Jean Alesi as well was Formula 3 under Jordan as well. So he's had, when you think of names in Formula 1, he's been sort of team boss of quite a few big names in that industry. Obviously Damon Hill, who won for him. Heinz-Harald Frentzen won a race for him as well. Giancarlo Fisichella was, I think, the last race win he had under him as well. So he's had many a talented driver in his roster, if you will.
Yes, absolutely, and went on, of course, to be a pundit on
Channel 4 and BBC One.
Sorry, Channel 4, wasn't it? Yeah, a pundit for them, and to have an insight from a guy like him would have been invaluable to that coverage. So go down in history.
He will do indeed. We can, though, take a look to the chat. Good evening to Alexa Marshall, our Pro-Am commentator in the chat. Andrew Aberdeen, good evening to you. Good evening to Gary Clarble. Damien Hibbs is there. Audio Sport, one of our 2 fantastic sponsors. Rob Smith is there as well. Andrew Aberdeen, evening Matt and evening Zippy, he says. Old Sim Racers in the chat, as is Paul Williams as well. Kelly's still pretty quiet, so let me turn him up. I had to alter Kelly's sound last night. He was taken to the track, and he has his sound coming through his telly, so I had to turn him down a lot because the roar of his McLaren engine was a little too much for my ears to hear ringing through as he got driver of the day that the chat and commentators gave him.
Yeah, better than a win. Back to Andrew. What this Zippy thing? You got to laugh at that. You're showing your age there, mind Andrew. Target reference there for Rainbow, but George Bungle, yes. So apparently I sound like Zippy. Well, at least I sound like somebody famous, so that's okay. And Rob, not necessarily a bad thing that Kelly's pretty quiet. Wow, yeah. I think there's a lot of people who'd like me to be quiet, but there you go. Not tonight, my friend.
Not tonight, my friend, because it is the pro night and it is some good action out there. And at the minute it is 4 different manufacturers separating the top 4 spots. Ford from Honda, from McLaren, from Porsche. How long it will stay that way we'll find out in a few moments' time as we enter the final 2 minutes of practice. It gives us a chance to go through the championship standings. It is Sylph who is 18 points clear of Tardock. Then it's 109 points back to Hoopert, so it's a 2-horse race going into this back half of the season, you have to say. Overtaker's P4. He's 134 points back. Ben Rooks P5, 143 points back. Dan Davis is a point behind Ben in P6. Then it's Kieran O'Reilly, only 3 points behind Dan. Michael Harris not here tonight. He's P8. Matt Wright's P9 with Jamal Clouden in 10th. Mike Matthews is 11th with Skunky 12th. Patrick Ledger, Sky Schundelmeyer. Will Friedman starting to make his way up the grid, obviously coming into the championship late. From Viper, Darren Yo, Tobias Hoffer, Gary Leach, Carlos McGowan, Fraser O'Brien. And then it's the bottom 4 who haven't started really. Joe did the first race of the season, we've not seen him since, and there is a new driver on that list. He's not yet here. He can do every other week, hence why he signed up as a reserve. So he will be here every other week, but that is one we're going to look forward to. I assume he'll be able to take part next week, as this is the week he can't race. MSA lead the constructors, 269 points clear of Audio Sport, with Greasy Bandits, who actually closed the gap on Audio Sport a little bit last week. They're 325 behind the leaders. SimPlay Racing just behind them. They closed up on Greasy Bandits as well. Old School Racers, Team FPR, Quantum Motorsport, Team SPR, Scuderia Tempesta, Effects Motorsport and Red Rum Racing. In terms of the manufacturer standings that we don't post, it's only really for my stats that I read out on a Wednesday evening. McLaren lead the way by 159 points. There's only 2 Ferraris tonight and but 3 Porsches. They could really close that gap on there. Mercedes P4, BMW P5, Ford P6, Aston Martin P7, Ginetta P8, Chevrolet P9, Alpine, Lamborghini, Bentley, Nissan, Honda, Lexus and Audi cannot win it this season, but they are pointless championships and pointless statistics there. In terms of Imola, most successful driver is this man on circuit right now, Dan Davis, who's about to return to the pit lane. 2 pole positions and 4 wins, but you've got a lot of old names on this list. Big Boy Brazier, Ripper, D Biggs, 2 poles, 2 wins. Some may call him the GOAT of SimPlay Motorsport, cleanest driver that we've ever raced with on the channel. Monkey Boy with a win, pole and a win. Dennis Newman a pole and 2 wins. Sutty a pole and a win. Andy had a win. Holty a pole and a win. Bryn, Nova, myself a pole and a win. Nash with a pole. Overtaker, Graham, Danlick, Fat Bloke, Rabbit Joe had a pole position. And then you've got Fury, Keegs, Dean Wasocki, Tim Ventink, Verlainen, Cloud and Fernie. Remy Fernie this week, 2 race wins, both in the sprint race from O'Reilly and Snye. So interesting stuff there.
What you got to say is we've certainly been here a lot.
We've been here a fair few times. It's not the circuit we've been to one at the most. If I look through in terms of different race winners, it is Silverstone.
Or is it Silverstone?
In terms of different race winners, yeah, in terms of different race winners, where is Monza on my list of statistics? Monza's had a fair few different winners, but there's been more repeat winners and pole sitters at that circuit. For example, Holty, 3 poles, 2 wins. Dan, 3 wins, 3 poles. Joe, 2 poles, 3 wins. I've had 3 poles, 3 wins. So a bit more of a shorter list. Laguna Seca's got a good amount. Spooky Laguna. And then one track that's got... you are on that list, I do believe. Yeah. Let's have a look. Yeah. You should be on that list. Where are you?
My list is short, but it's there.
You are there. Look, 1 race win to your name.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you are.
Spooky Laguna.
Yeah. Crazy place. But
it is, yes, it is.
We've gone from Spooky Laguna to the fantastic Imola circuit, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari is the actual official circuit name, but obviously we know it as Imola. A lot has happened at Imola over its time. A lot has changed at Imola over its time, but it still remains an iconic circuit.
Classic, yeah, absolutely a classic. Returned into our view in the last few years, hasn't it? There was many years that Formula One didn't race at Imola. I thought it was because the Formula One was deemed too fast for Imola, but I think it was more about the infrastructure at the time. Because it's not just about the track; it's also about the infrastructure of pits and spectatoring and all the rest of it. But I don't know quite why, but it's always a pleasure to come here. I think it's a classic myself.
100%. We got that year of 2020 with the COVID year of racing where we went to tracks like Imola, and it's been on the calendar ever since. And it just always brought you that old school kind of vibe, the racing where if you go wide into the gravel, drivers are going to be punished. No error for margin. Unlike these, tracks that have all the runoff nowadays. I'm much a bigger fan of this than somewhere like, Paul Ricard, for example.
Yeah. I think it's one of those tracks that's got character, like Monza, like Spa, and all those. So it's definitely a classic. A thumbs up from us.
So we're getting underway now for the start of the sprint race here, round 13 of the season. We are missing a couple of drivers, so as we get the grid order underway, Gary Leach is not on that list. He's not here. His wife is unwell. So he's got to look after the other one, after the little one, sorry, not the other one, that's just, I've typed the word other. He's got to look after the little one.
Wives has he got?
Yeah, it's because I've literally just typed other on the poll. He's got to look after the little one. But either way, so he would have been starting on pole position, so everybody has been bumped up the grid order. But it is Tobias Hoffer on the front row with Viper in this first race of the evening. Row number 2 then will be that of a Porsche row 2. Will Friedman and Sky Schundelmeyer will now be occupying that second row of the grid. Row 3 will then be Mike Matthews and Jamal Clouden, 2 drivers who have had an up and down season so far. Row 4 will be Matt Wright and Kieran O'Reilly, the Nissan and the Honda, to take to row 4. Row 5 will be Dan Davis and Ben Ruck, and Audio Sport row 5 on the grid after the missing in action of Gary Leach. And then it's 4 Fords at the back. Overtaker, Self, Tardock and Hoopert will bring up the rear of the pack. And Kelly, the Fords have been somewhat of the dominant car this season. They've been the car to choose. They've been the car to beat. I'm just noticing it's put Silf ahead of Hoopert, so I'm not quite sure why that is. Don't know if they've just gone through the sector times like that. But they've been the car to beat, Kelly. We've always said that Dan and O'Reilly's been best of the rest, but slowly that best of the rest in terms of the championship stage is looking like Ben.
It is at the moment, yeah. Ben doing a solid job for Team Audio Sport, and yeah, he does seem to be the best of the rest, and yeah, you know, he's doing a fantastic job, that's for sure. Do you think we should have a little chat about tyres just very quickly, Matt? Considering, just to let people in on at home, let them in on it. We are currently 6 degrees at the moment, and the track is fast. These tyres tonight are not getting warm, are they, Matt?
No, they're not at all. They are struggling to get up to temperature, especially the left front. It's going to be an interesting one to see what these drivers can do with these tyres.
Absolutely. I personally have never raced a race like it where I struggled so much to get heat into the tyres. Normally it's not something I have problems with, but it's really cold out there tonight, or really cold all week, so just keep that in mind when we see incidents that a lot of these guys, you can see Dan weaving from side to side, as most of the field are, just trying to get that last minute temp in.
Also, Kelly,
Sorry. Well,
also, it could be a case of, let's look at the race too. Who will take tyres? Will anybody take tyres in that second race? Will they maybe go to the end on that set that's lasting? Because with the track temp so cold, it might be worth risking that 5 seconds extra to not change the tyres. But we're about to get underway here for the start of the race at Imola. It's race 1 of the evening. 14 drivers on the circuit tonight. We're going to need you in the chat to show your voices, because we're probably going to be asking a few questions as it's green and go for round 13. It's a great start from Viper. Not a very good start from the Bentley of Tobias Hoffer. He's got Will Friedman on his rear quarter already, kind of boxing him in with Viper though. And they all get in through turn 1. Tobias Hoffer later on the brakes gets the Bentley back up the inside into the lead of this race. Viper's looking each way he can through Tamburello as we just drop back down to Mike Matthews. He's currently side by side with the McLaren of Jamal Clouden. He's got his teammate O'Reilly just behind him. In towards Villeneuve they come now, and O'Reilly's going to skate up the inside of the first part of Villeneuve. Now has the outside for the second part. Bit of contact made between O'Reilly and Clouden. O'Reilly's just going to tumble down the order a little bit. But what was you in that, Kelly?
I'm on the back. I'm on board with Tardock at the moment. Ben got a little bit nudged, I'm not sure by who, and he got a wheel up on the grass. Thought it was going to be a bit more serious than that, but he managed to cover it and stay in front of Dan at the moment.
Indeed he has, and it's all line of stern as we go through. I don't think anybody's changed or lost a position here. Maybe O'Reilly lost out to Matt Wright, but it is still Tobias Hoffer who leads the way from that of Viper, with then Will Friedman P3, Schundelmeyer's P4, Mike Matthews P5 from Jamal Clouden, Kieran O'Reilly, Matt Wright. Then it's Ben Ruck, Dan Davis, Overtaker, Ben Hoopert, Tardock and Self down at the back of the pack, and all looking pretty good at the moment, Kelly. A nice clean lap 1, but it all just looks a bit like a follow the leader. Nobody really pulling out to have a look on anybody.
No, not at all. It's all been really quite uneventful. As I say, I'm on board with Tardock. I've stayed there for a minute, and he's made no positions. Doesn't look like everybody, as you said, nobody has. Or he has a look down the inside of Hooper on his teammate, but you don't want to turn your teammate round, do you, Matt?
Yeah, you don't want to turn your teammate round at all, as I did to Gary on Tuesday night, but I felt like Gary was in the way, and we had a team discussion about it, and it was all okay. Will Freeman's just got past somebody. He's got past Viper as he sets the fastest lap of the race, and he can now head after the Bentley out at the front of the pack, as Mike Matthews kind of half defensive, but also half having a look at Sky Schundelmeyer then. Coming through Tamburello, once again, remember back in the 90s, Tamburello was that quick left-hand bend that went through as we say good evening to Lee and Tracy in the chat. And we're all line of stern at the minute. But I'm just noting back there, look, Ben's got a bit of a gap to Dan Davis. Dan's off. Dan is off. Not sure what's happened, but Dan Davis is off. Rejoins now. Loses out only the one place to overtake. Overtaker's let him go, so I think Overtaker's made contact with Dan there.
That could be quite right, yeah, because Overtaker's just... I moved forward, so I didn't see what happened on that one, but Dan off, I would have said there's probably something along those lines, because Overtaker really did back out of that one, and now he's been overtaken by Tardok as well.
Tardok, yeah, no, you're right, it is Tardok. Hoopert's down at the back of the pack. He's been passed by Sylph, so, yeah, Will Friedman now leads this race. And we're all line of stern at the moment, but Mike Matthews getting a bit closer to the back of Sky Schundelmeyer as they're all in a train behind that huge big Bentley of Tobias Hoffer. Mike has a look up the inside at the chicane. Not going to do it through there, but it's all about that run on exit. We said about the gap between Ben and Dan just opening up a little bit. Well, it definitely opened up after the contact there. Dan now may suffer with a bit of rear end damage. We're just going to have to wait and see what will happen, but he's now got Tardok behind him as there is a move up front. That is Clouden having a look to the outside of Mike Matthews. O'Reilly waiting in the wings to try and get past as well. Oh, no, he's not. He's had a big moment on the outside curb, but O'Reilly has a big mistake there. He now feeds back into the train of cars. No, he doesn't quite feed in because he's not up to speed. That's going to allow Dan Davis another position.
Dan's through, but Overtaker wasn't close enough. Tardok wasn't close enough, but Tardok having a look down into turn one. He's O'Reilly's giving him O'Reilly goes over the curb, gets hit by Overtaker. Overtaker's out as well. O'Reilly was just a little bit greedy on the curb and started to lose it all by himself, which took out Overtaker as well.
I don't think that took out Overtaker. I think as them two was avoiding, it looked like the Mustang behind Overtaker spun Overtaker round before he'd actually made contact with O'Reilly.
Okay.
But
so you think, still
I think they both took avoiding action on O'Reilly, and they've made contact together that spun Overtaker out. Either way, we're watching Viper, who's coming under a bit of pressure here from Sky Schundelmeyer. Mike and Matthews in the background, just pulling away from Clouden a little bit, but ran wide. So that may have pinged up a track limit warning. So for O'Reilly, it goes from bad to worse once again. And Overtaker as well as Sky Schundelmeyer is off. And that is allowed at 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe even Dan as he struggles to get back on. And it's definitely going to allow Tardok and possibly Sylph and Hooper. No, not quite. They're too far back as they come into the chicane. So Dan must be hoping that when one of these drivers makes a mistake, he can get a car between himself and Tardok. It's not the case at the moment as Ben's put a move on Matt Wright. Yeah, he has at the exit to the chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dan getting lucky on these incidents. He just seems to be getting through. But Tardok's right up with him, a third of a second behind. So he's making ground as well. So these things falling quite nicely for these guys, taking them up the order.
It is taking them up the order as two drivers in, Tobias Hoffer and Mike Matthews. Dan choosing to go long. Very surprised he's not come out of the pack, and Tardok has got her on. Dan's gone defensive early, but I just get the feeling this Mustang's going to drive around the outside of the Porsche like so. Pulls back in, and nothing that Dan can do about that.
No, indeed, job done there. The Mustang power again.
Let me ask you something about that, Kelly. Dan pulled out of Matt Wright's slipstream to defend early from Tardok. Do you think he'd probably be better off staying behind the Nissan until a bit later?
I think if he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't, to be honest, with the power of that Mustang. I don't think it would have done him any good either way, as he gets very close, as Tardok got very close up behind Matt Wright, and Dan followed in as well. It's really easy in that chicane, that hairpin, to go deep into it, and then to get caught out there. I got caught out a couple of times last night there, so really easy to do.
I think Mike Matthews has jumped Tobias Hoffer in the pit lane. I'm just looking at the dots on the track map coming out, and the 11 is in front of the 21 as Dan gets a good run through Aquaminalari up then onto the back then of Tardok as they come in towards the newly named Grassini chicane, but Dan sensible enough not to get the run through. Now the Porsche good in the traction zones. That'll be where Dan will be trying to use exit to the chicane to get a run down towards Ravazza, the final couple of corners. No doing so at the moment, and yes, Mike is ahead, and Hoopert's on the back now of Tobias Hoffer, as well as we say good evening to Swift. Dan Taylor in the chat.
Hello.
As we say good evening to you as well in there. Does anybody choose to box this time around? I may hazard to guess that no, Dan didn't come in. Tardok come in. I've got a feeling Dan was doing the opposite to what Tardok was going to do, because Dan will probably want that clear air, but he's got a big gap back to his teammate of Ben Ruck then, who's got Matt Wright still keeping him under pressure, is the Nissan?
Yes, he is making that Nissan work quite well. Is Matt Wright? He's all over Ben Rook as they come round for another lap 4. And yeah, good evening to everyone in the chat. Keep your comments going, even if you are going to insult me with references to Muppets, certainly puppets. But keep your comments coming. We love to hear your comments in the chat. Let's hear them. Let's have it.
Yeah, indeed. So just in front of Matt Wright and Ben Rook then is the battle between Viper and Jamal Clouden. Oh, Jamal, a little wiggle there, and he's gone wide. Under the braking, that seemed to wiggle on that McLaren, so that is not what Jamal wanted. That puts to bed that fight between him and Viper for the time being. Tardoc's pit stop is done.
Okay, I see that, yeah.
And he is away now, he's Tardoc. But let's see if Mike Matthews on the track map. We're going to stay with Matt Wright and Ben Rook. Is Tardoc, wait for the P to disappear off screen, has he done enough to jump Mike Matthews?
No.
He's off the pit limiter, but Mike Matthews is going to sail past, and he does so there. Look on the mini track map. Mike Matthews, and your net leader in terms of the boys who's done the pit stops. And Mike, who had a dreadful Kyle Army a week to forget, will be wanting to bounce back strong here at Imola.
Well, he's going the right way about it at the moment. So good strategy so far. Let's hope he can keep it all on the black stuff. And but Tardoc will be hunting him down, that's for sure. We need to see how the rest pan out, because up front, Will Friedman is he's got 5 seconds over Viper now. So Will Friedman getting his head down, getting the lap times in, and let's see how that pans out after the pit stops.
Yeah, let's see how that one pans out indeed. O'Reilly's on the back of Tobias Hoffer, down in 14th and 13th places. Tobias Hoffer has kind of been around that 13th, 14th place all season, so, you know, with little cars on the grid, he might struggle. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on, as Sylph's on the back of Hoopert as well. And Tardoc 1.3 off the back of Mike at the moment. This...
Few in the pits at the moment. Cloud and Dan, Matt Wright and Shundelmeyer all in the pits at the moment. So
and let's not forget, Mike Matthews was ahead of the lot on the circuit before he pitted. So Tardoc being 1.3 off the back of him. Matt Wright's done before all of them. Clouden's done now. Shundelmeyer's done. Dan's now done.
That's close. Looks like Clouden was he in front? He was in front of Matt Wright to start with.
He was, yeah.
But only just. It's nip and tuck.
Well, here comes the leaders, Kelly. Here comes Mike Matthews. He's got Tardoc just under a second behind him, as Clouden, Dan and Matt Wright all head off the pit limiter. Mike Matthews is going to get up the inside of Dan Davis. Is he going to get Matt Wright? No, so Matt Wright gets ahead of Mike Matthews. Mike squeezes Dan to the inside curve there. Dan had to jump on Tardoc, and I think without Mike Matthews squeezing Dan, as Dan gives a flash of the lights, without Mike squeezing his former teammate, I think he'd have jumped Tardoc there.
Yes, I do think you're right. I was flicking between the cars and didn't quite see the incident. So yeah, I'd like to see that again, to be honest. Dan he could have done with just half a second more. To be out just to clear Mike.
So based off of this, Kelly, because Clouden and Matt Wright have jumped Mike by a good margin, the overcut is the strongest strategy, it would seem to be, at this first glance, because Dan pitted a lap after Tardoc. Mike pitted before the two in front of him, yet the ones who had been overcut would have jumped everybody in front of him, because Dan would have been ahead of Tardoc there, and his former teammate, leaving him a car's width, but not allowing him the chance to get a run out the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan's got a run here. Dan's got a run. We said this, Kelly, didn't we? We said this at the chicane. He's got to get it done in the traction zones, and the chicane is just that. Dan will now want to be glued to the back of Mike Matthews' Ferrari down this straight. He's going to need every little bit of miles per hour he can get as he comes out the final part of Ravazza now. Top 4 still to pit. And Jamal Clouden is now your net pit leader. I think he might come out ahead of Viper. It was a good move. But he's got to capitalise in them places, Kelly.
Yes, he has, absolutely. But to get to the inside of that chicane like he did, that was very good. To get, to get to the inside of that chicane is very tricky, and to have outfoxed Tardoc there, that was good bit of driving. How long he can keep hold of it?
Well, the slipstream of Mike Matthews kept him where he was, and Dan Davis at the moment now sat in a strong position. We're just going to drop back to Hoopert, who's gaining on the back of this train as well. Drive-through penalty for for Hupert for track limit, so that puts to bed his race at the moment. And by this, the overcut being strong, keep your eyes on Ben Ruck, who's just coming into the pit lane, because he could jump the entire field in this one. I'm going to load up my graphic for pit stops and how long it will take here when I can find the correct one. But either way, Kelly, this is developing into a tasty 20-minute sprint race.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Certainly plenty going on. Yeah. It's
so we got.
Sorry, I was reading the chat as
no,
I'm
you're fine.
Concentrating. Yeah, so Dan's still in the slipstream, and Mike, he's close to him. That Porsche looks like a handful, doesn't it? I'm following in Tardoc's car at the moment as they come down into the penultimate corner again. Dan looks down the inside, but Mike's got that covered off. Dan looking for a switch. Going to get good traction off this corner. It was one of the corners I was doing okay with last night. But Dan looks to it. He's got to run on Mike now. As the Porsche got the power to go round the outside.
No,
it's like a bit of a stalemate.
It's got the inside line, Kelly, as they come in towards turn one, though. That's the biggest part of this section of the circuit. Porsche and Ferrari going at it. Mike got a horrible run out the final part of Ravazza and tucks back in behind Dan now, and Dan gets the jump on his former teammate. Dan's now got to keep it all together to keep it there in this race, but Mike Matthews will be trying to fight Dan back here. He's got Tardot behind him, and Mike will be wanting to make sure he can either try and fight Dan back or hold on to that position for as long as he possibly can, and that's not going to help him. He's just dropped a wheel in the gravel, and I think Tardot may have just tapped his rear, but in not really being able to avoid him, seeing as he was bumper to bumper pretty much.
Absolutely, and Tardot trying that wide line through the hairpin. He tried it on Dan last time round, but and he touches Mike again. And both of them are in trouble. Sends Mike right across the track. That's unfortunate. It looks like Tardot's waiting for him.
Tardot's waiting for him, but yet Mike's already passed him and got going. So Tardot carries on his way now. So that's going to ruin a great result for Mike Matthews, who was up the order. But Jamal Clouden and Matt Wright both stayed in front of Ben Ruck. So Ben Ruck's overcut didn't work too well on the other two. Will Friedman's exiting the pit lane now. Viper's still stationary. This could be good for Jamal Clouden, for a P3 at the moment.
Yeah.
But Dan Davis now, he's only got to worry about Sylph behind him, but Sylph is 2.2 seconds behind.
Yeah, so Dan with a bit of clear air for the minute. He's got his teammate 1.2 in front, so not running in the bumper of him. So Dan with a strong result from the back, but Will Friedman 13 seconds out in front as Viper's in the pits now. Last person to pit, I believe, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow Ben Ruck through. Dan Davis is going to get past as well. I think Sylph is a little too far back, so that puts Viper from second down into sixth place, and everybody else moves up one. So Matt Wright's Nissan back on the podium. In fact, Matt Wright jumped Ben, actually, based off the pit stops, because Ben was in front of Matt Wright before the round of pit stops. So Riley, after that earlier excursion, he's back up to eighth place, and he's not far off the back of Sylph, who is within 3/10 of Viper. So O'Reilly's done well to come back in this race. Schundelmeyer's had a moment, and he is off, and that'll give Mike and Tardot yet another position. Maybe even maybe not overtaker. He's a bit too far back, depending on when Sky returns, and he has.
Yeah. Just reading some of these chat messages. I'm struggling with these ones. Alexi, what are you on about? Come on, Quantum. Who's Quantum?
Matt Wright.
What's
Quantum Motorsport.
There you go. See, why can you diss him? Yeah. Can't say we do, but there you go. Diss the car.
Michael Kelly, you diss them, I'll curse your races.
I see. Well, don't worry about that. I can curse my own races.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
And good job, Mike's not in the commentary box to curse them.
And wouldn't be in Pro-Am to be cursed.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So that's okay. And Andrew saying that Zippy's favourite car isn't the McLaren. Well, been driving it for 4 seasons, so and his favourite drink of choice is lager.
Lager.
Of choice is lager. Is that supposed to be lager, is it?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, no, don't drink lager, it's a thug's drink.
You probably drink Rattler.
No, I don't, Matt. That's a thug cider.
There we go.
I drink, I say no to drink.
Well done.
As you know.
Bar maybe a bottle of Wicked here or there. Mike Matthews, sorry Kelly, Mike Matthews tried to go around the outside of the Bentley of Tobias Hoffer. Hoffer's bounced over the sausage curbs. That's hit the side of Mike. Mike's now lost out to Tardock. Mike flashing the lights galore here, but I'm not sure that what Mike wanted the Bentley to do there. I don't quite know what he's flashing the lights at. That seemed to be pretty just pretty normal behaviour of a sausage curb, I'd say. Oh, here we go, though. Mike's got to run around the outside of Tozer on Tardock. I
think Mike's a little bit possibly driving frustrated.
Yes, 100%. Round the outside into the left-hand corner. And is he going to get his done? Still side by side with Tardock. Great bit of action here as they come through. Piratella down in towards Aquaminalari. Still together side by side. Now Mike bounces off the sausage curbs and into Tardock. And well, if he's going to flash his lights at Hoffner, Tardock's going to flash his lights at him.
Yeah, they're certainly coming together, these two, neither of them is going to be happy at the end of this race, are they? That's for certain sure.
It is indeed. Ben Rook's gaining on the back of Matt Wright, I've noticed as well. 0.6 of a second between Matt Wright and Ben Rook as they come to end their lap. Drive through for Overtaker. If it's not going to rain for this man today, it is going to pour, it looks like, because he had the moment earlier on and now he's got to drive through.
Yeah, I mean, his race was pretty much over anyway, running back in 13th, but now it's properly over, that's for certain sure. Andrew's saying that he's got to go and have, he'll catch the rest of the stream later because he's off for a Brazilian wax and have his nails done. That's lovely. Mine are all lovely and nice at the moment, don't need them done, so,
Good evening good evening to Peaceful Stepdad as well in the chat, and Rob Smith saying that you've got to go a long way to go around the outside of a Bentley, and that you do. It is a big car.
It's a huge car, and I hate to know what it does on fuel, but yeah, it is a bit of a monster, a bit of a tank. I remember racing with oh God, it's going to come to me. Who did I lose out to a couple of seasons ago? Move on. Anyway, I remember seeing it in my mirror and not seeing anything else. The formidable grille just large in your rear view mirror, that's for sure.
You're not going to mistake that car, are you, when the grille is lit up right behind you? We've got O'Reilly on the back of Viper here. Viper's got a qualifying ban for that second race, but he's currently down in 7th place with O'Reilly P8 trying to get through on him. Silf has gained down by a couple of tenths here, but we're only going to have one more lap left because Will Friedman's coming to the penultimate corner now. He will get to the line by the time this is done. I don't think he's going to slow down because I don't think he's got the time to with Clouden being close. We're going to keep our eyes on this O'Reilly Viper battle at the moment. Keep your eyes on that Ben Rook time as O'Reilly pulls to the outside now. Coming down towards Ravazzi, gets on the grass and just backs out of it for the time being, does O'Reilly. But the gap between Rook and Matt Wright still 0.6 of a second. Well, will it be closer? Will it be further as they come across the start line any moment now? It is about the same. It went up 400, so very small margin there.
I don't think Ben's gaining on that with any turn of speed, to be honest. It's the last lap. I think if Matt keeps this consistency, then it's a little bit far out of reach for Ben to stand on the podium. But Will Freeman is gone. He's 10 seconds away now, so he's pretty much got this in the bag without any.
Just noticed, Kelly, as well, that Mike Matthews' yellow flag on track. He's got a yellow circle around him, so his car could be damaged. Overtakes him for his drive-through. Matt's got one lap to go as Viper goes a little deep, has a wiggle at the exit of Villeneuve as they come down towards Tozer. O'Reilly is trying everything he can to get past.
Yeah, Ben just got out of shape in the hairpins, so I don't think we're going to have any further action. But it's going to be a good result for the team Audio Sport. But it's going to be an even better result for that big heavy Nissan GTR.
Yeah.
It's going to, I mean, it's an epic car in real life, but it's not.
Oh, here we go, Kelly. Sorry, O'Reilly's looking up the inside at Aquaminalari, backs out of it, didn't go over the sausage curbs like his teammate did a lap or two ago, and he's just really then bounced off the other sausage curbs on the exit of Aquaminalari. But we're going to cut to Will Freeman, who has been dominant in this race. Started up the order, granted, but that's due to championship standings. He's now going to come across the line with a race win and a fastest lap to his name. Will Freeman tonight then takes round 13 and will add to his win tally here at SimPlay Motorsport in great style. Do you know what? Great result for Jamal Clouden as well.
Yes, indeed.
Second place, huge solid result. Matt Wright's already had a race win this year. He'll back that up with a third place here at Imola. Then it's the two Audio Sport cars. Dan finishing behind Ben again, so Ben gaining more points in that championship over Dan. Sylph will be P5 in this one, and then Viper did hang on to 7th place over O'Reilly in that race. So a good drive from him. We've just got to wait for Tobias Hoffer.
Yep.
Who is crossing the line P9 for the Bentley. Not a bad result given all that happened in that race. Tordock down in 10th, Schundelmeyer 11th, and we just now wait for Hoopert, who will come across the line P12. Mike has already finished the race a lap down in P14. That'll obviously be due to damages to the car. He finishes down in 14th place. We just await overtaken now. Sky Schundelmeyer was P11. Tobias Hoffer P9. Good result for the Bentley, and he basically kept his nose clean, didn't he? Kept out of trouble, kept it clean, and did exactly what he needed to do. Here comes Overtaker to cross the line, but it's a Porsche that wins of Will Friedman here in round 13. We'll be back in a couple of moments' time with the second race.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are into qualifying for the feature race this evening. 15-minute qualifying to get the best time on the board to arrange the grid for the feature race. Feature race coming up, and it's an hour long with another mandatory pit stop. Again, choice of if you want to change those tyres or not. It'd be touch and go this evening with the temperatures being quite so cold. That who changes and who doesn't could be interesting strategy for many people this evening. You should be on board with Stilth at the moment, who's certainly one of the quick ones in this Mustang this evening, but keep an eye on Tardok for one. Mike Matthews could put in a good result, and Dan is always there and thereabout. Also keep an eye on the race one winner, Will Friedman, in that Porsche, and had a cracking race one, so let's see how he gets on in the second race. So we are down into the last couple of corners for Silties. He's going to start his first flying lap. We will stay on board with him for a moment. If you're wondering where Matt's gone, he's just refueling, having a bite to eat, as he's a busy man. We come across the start finish straight, flat scat through here. Try and pick up your braking point somewhere around here. Hit the brakes down to second gear. Try and ride the curbs. First chicane, ride the curbs here. Back on the throttle here. Flat scat takes an awful lot of curb on the way out of this one. On the way down to the next chicane. This is fast on entry, but be careful on this curb that you don't run wide onto the gravel. Very easy to go onto the gravel. Hit the brakes at the 50 mark. Down a couple of gears. Down to first gear, try and hug the apex, which Stealth didn't do there, and you start climbing up the hill. This is a strange little corner, this one coming up. You always think you can go at it faster than you actually can, so hit the brakes, down a couple of gears, hug the apex, try not to run wide on the exit. We're coming down to Aqua Minerale. It's an interesting selection of right-handers. You go in very fast, come down a load of gears, try and stay in track limits as you go to the outside, the left-hand side. Flat scat up through here, now up through the gears, 50-meter board, down through the brakes, hug the chicane, hug the apex on the entry and on the exit. Try to get good traction on the way down as we come down to the final set of corners. Left and a double left, a left and another left, both 90 degree. On the brakes, right down. I was in first gear here. Touch the apex, stay on track limits. Second gear, try and get the traction zone. Nail it on the exit. Foot down up through the gears. Top speed as you come across the line. The line is a long way down the pitch straight. You always think it's a bit closer than it is, but it's all the way down here as Stealth puts up. No, yes he does. No, he doesn't. Was your time not valid?
Time must have been invalid, yeah.
On my screen. Yeah, I didn't see where he invalid that lap, to be honest.
Very easy around here, though, Kelly. You would have found out last night. I found out on Tuesday that track limits are invalid. No Sky Schundelmeyer for this second race. He will not be here for this one, as O'Reilly now tops the timing screens at the moment. We can go back to Mike Mathew, see what he can do on the timing board. He goes into P6. The 135 of Matt Wright just behind him. No lap time from him, and then it's the number one of Dan Davis.
Yeah, so a few on the board at the moment. What are we in? The 41.6. We did see dipping into the 40s in practice, but only from a few guys. Can you imagine what they were driving?
For Mustangs, possibly.
For you? Yeah. So could we see a 40 this evening? We'll see how we go. I reckon maybe Tardok, certainly a Mustang, might be able to do that this evening. But who puts the highest Mustang at the moment? It's Honda from Ford, from Porsche, from Aston Martin. McLaren as Clouden is in 5th place, but it's only a half a second off the ultimate pace at the moment.
It is indeed. I'm just double checking something.
Right.
Yep. Viper's set a qualifying time when he's on a qualifying ban, and he was tagged earlier today. He was on that ban, so that'll be a penalty carried over to the next race at the moment. There's a Tardok, a lap time 9 seconds off the pace. We'll wait to see what Sylph can do, though. The man who set the first flying lap time, is he going to put one on the board? Yes, he does. 2/10 quicker than that of the Honda at the moment. Overtaken, no improvement there. Jamal Clouden, no improvement. Hooper now goes to provisional pole position, as now we get to see what the Honda can do. But don't forget, Kelly, the one thing to mention is tyres are still going to be warming up here.
Yeah, it takes a couple of laps to get the pressures to come up where you want them to. It is, as I said, it's for me, it's been the toughest race I've ever known on tyres here, because it just isn't getting any warmer. You know, it's well, I say it isn't getting any warmer. It's gone up 1 degree in the time we've been on air this evening, and the track is still fast. Hasn't moved to optimum. So you know, the track certainly isn't where it wants to be. It takes a couple of laps.
The track's not been optimum, Kelly, all week. Even in the GT4s and Pro-Am last night. And don't forget, this is now 11 p.m. on the Sunday evening. Sorry, no, this is midnight. This is midnight on the Saturday evening and Sunday morning. So this will be going down into that period of 1 a.m. for race start. So we are going to see the track just cool down a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a constant problem. And will anyone choose to take the tyres all the way through the feature race? I reckon I should have done it last night. But
well, you can save yourself 5 seconds. So you know, we've been at tracks this season, Kelly, where you know, track temps have been in the 30-40 degrees. You think sensible option. Track temp's going to be 6 to 5 degrees. Could you get away with maybe gaining 5 seconds?
Well, this is a trade-off, isn't it? Last night I made the decision to change the tyres, although I was carrying a bit of damage, and I thought the new tyres might help my pace. So it's a trade-off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're in a fight with someone, a close fight, and you add those, you know, you save those 5 seconds, then yeah. I just hope you don't mess your pit stop up and cost yourself 5 seconds. But
that's going to be the biggest factor, I think, tonight. See who will or won't take tyres as O'Reilly comes to the line. No improvement there. What about Ben Ruck? Just a second off the pole. Goes within 2/10 of the pole. So finds a massive improvement that lap. That is a heck of a lap. Mike Matthews, it says, on an invalid one down in P11 at the moment. Here comes Matt Wright, who's 1.5 off the pole. We're all good, thank you, Rob. Chris in the chat. We've finally got to see Chris pop up for the first time. And here comes Dan Davis, P7. So we're down to the 13 runners, sadly. And
yes,
Dan Davis
which is
improved by 10th.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. We've only got 13. Good evening, Chris. Where have you been all night? And he's saying in the chat that he's not as young as he used to be because he is struggling to spell young. So, but he's been gardening. So my question would be, why would you? Yeah, God no, tarmac it all.
It's March.
You know, that's Honda type stuff. Leave it alone. You know.
Hey, now let's not start. I wasn't gonna bring it up tonight. Did you not see that
one coming?
No.
Did you not see that?
I didn't see that one coming. No, I wasn't going to bring it up tonight. But tomorrow I'm going to Silverstone to see the Honda NSX. Don't know if I've told you.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope you take the Kleenex with you.
I'll take more than just that, don't you worry, my friend.
Just in case you need to wipe any dirt off it, I mean.
Yeah, obviously. You know? Tardoc's at P5 at the moment. Who's coming towards the line? O'Reilly's next car to it. Dan's coming out of the pit lane here then, so Dan's gone for a fresh set of boots, as has Jamal Clouden. Ben on an invalid lap just behind this. And then Viper, Mike Matthews and Hoffa just an overtaker outside the top 1 second.
Yeah.
As O'Reilly goes pole. The Honda in the 40s.
The Honda bounces
that's for insulting you and calling it a lawnmower. And it's got Kelly. Watch this, and he's gone provisional pole with 5 minutes left in qualifying. Here comes Mike Matthews, who improves his time, but only to 1.2 off the pole of his teammates.
I tell you what, we were chatting with Jamal before the race, and he tipped O'Reilly to be quick.
Yes,
didn't
yeah.
He said he'd be quick this evening, and he certainly is. First man in the 40s, and that Honda paying me back for its insults. Tardock with a really bad chicane and has spun it round on track. He's gone back to the pits. He'll have to go again. Look at these times again, Matt. Look, we don't break the second until we get like 9th place.
Yeah,
that's crazy, isn't it?
It's fascinating, isn't it? And imagine if we had everybody on the grid, a couple more quicker guys missing tonight as well that would have been in that mix at the top end. Tibbs obviously just gone. So, you know, it's a shame, but it's going to be an interesting one. They got the ISO fix in an NSX, Matt. You'll have to spell that one out for me, sadly.
Yeah, ISO fit is industry standard. Is ISO. That's what that means, and that's the seat belts that hold the your baby seat in. ISO fix.
There we go then.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Matt's yeah, Rob. Matt's a car man, but only race car man. When it comes to road cars, not a Scooby.
Not a Scooby-Doo. I'm good at talking about them. I know nothing about them other than what I say. Here comes Ben to the right. Sorry, go on.
Same as Dan. Dan, again, motorsport knowledge is brilliant, a great driver. But if you ask him to change the oil, he wouldn't know if it was in the front or the back.
Nice commentating, says Chris Daines in the chat. Now well, Chris Daines is my partner's dad, so my son's grandfather.
Okay, so
we've been in the chat most. We all agree, team. Sweet sticky in your box. We've been watching most weeks, and I've seen Chris Daines been commenting most weeks about go on Matt, go on Duffin, and he's been I had a cracking race at Kyle. I didn't see one comment from him. So what's the point? What's the point? You know what I mean, trying to impress the man. Although I have to big up Chris Daines, because we were sat at the hospital when Emily had the C-section with Ayrton. We was there on the Tuesday, and he said, "You've got to let him go home. He's got his race tonight." So he gets it. Chris is a fellow sim racer. He races a few sims. He gets it. Chris gets it. Kieran O'Reilly, though, still your pole sitter from Ben Hooper, who's currently in the pit lane, will want to be getting out sooner rather than later before that time passes by. We're going to go and watch Matt Wright. He's the next one to set a valid lap time. It's then Clouden and Dan. Are they coming to the end of their outlap after re-pitting? I believe they are.
I think they are, yeah. They're blue dots on my track map. I'm on board with Tardock, who's having another crack. He goes dangerously close to the pit wall as he comes through the main straight, but he's having another go at trying to improve on his now sixth place.
I can tell you now that Jamal wasn't on an outlap. He's just gone up into P3, so is Dan. Not sure, but Dan didn't improve on his lap time there. We've got Ben, who's currently P5. Look at that, Dan, 7/10 P9 to P1. That is incredible. Ben doesn't improve. He's going to go back to the pit. So Ben, that's going to be tight for him to get out. I tell you what, though, Ben's only going to get one flying lap in. His tyres are going to be nowhere near pressure or temperature, you'd imagine.
No, absolutely. I don't think he's going to do much more with that car this evening. I just don't think he'll get the tyres where he needs to get them. There's a few guys, that I thought would be up higher. Maybe not putting it all together. Tardock overtaking Mike Matthews. Dan expected to be higher up the grid, but hats off to the likes of Clouden and Will Freeman. I said look out for him as well in the top four. Only 3/10 off the ultimate pace, but still Kieran O'Reilly, the only man in the 40s.
Well, Kieran O'Reilly and Dan, we've been saying how much they've been taking it to the Fords this season. Ben's gone under the radar and was best of the rest in the championship. But Kieran O'Reilly is the man who's once again here taking it to the Fords. We know he had a bit of a dismal race one with the spin on the curb. Dan had a good fight and managed to finish ahead of the Fords as well. But in this qualifying session, certainly Ben, Friedman, Clouden and O'Reilly taking it 10 Ford Mustangs. A 135 of Matt Wright to line. He finds a bit of an improvement. Here comes Jamal again. Needs 3/10. Will get one last lap. Dan's on an invalid one again. So is he just looking for that temperature in the tyres? Let's keep an eye on if his time improves just in case. And to the line he comes. No improvement. Who's next? The 441. That is Hooper. Is he going to improve or find any time here? He does not. O'Reilly is done. Now it's nervous time for O'Reilly.
Yes, indeed. He's done all he can do. He doesn't feel like he can do any more. So it's just a case of who can go quicker. See if they can threaten that position for O'Reilly. We will see. Rob in the chat saying had 3 weeks parental leave, middle of summer slush. No, hang on. Prioritised all that. Went back to work the day after my youngest was born. I was DJing the night that Daniel was born. I did come back and for the birth, but the night Daniel was born, I was DJing in a club. I got the call at 10 to 1 that my wife then had gone into labour. So.
Brilliant. There we go.
Yeah. It's better than my dad. He was in the pub when I was born. So.
Well, I came home and raced Indianapolis at the with Grandad Chris allowing me to do so because Emily won't go against what her dad tells her. So I've got Chris on my side, so I need to keep Chris sweet at the moment.
Did you have a win? Did you have a win that night?
I had an absolute terrible night. As Tardock moves up into P2, and we're not going to talk about Indianapolis. Yes. It was absolutely abysmal. Was Indianapolis? It did not go well. But Tardock moves up into P2.
I just remember Gary Leach racing
Yes.
the day at Fuji, and he won that night. And I said he should call his daughter Fuji, but he didn't.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because they had no name at that point, did they?
They didn't. No, Dan Davis doesn't improve on his final run, and that is P9
nice.
for Dan Davis, who's left out there on a lap. I believe Ben's invalidated. Overtaker is done. Ben can't be invalidated, actually, because the session would have ended, because Overtaker's done his qualifying already, so Ben's got to be on a lap. There we go, he's just invalidated it. Qualifying over. Yeah. So that then is the end of qualifying, and it is Kieran O'Reilly.
Look at that.
After the altercations with Kelly shouting at it and telling him off and being nasty and aggressive towards the NSX. Kieran O'Reilly, nasty and aggressive, calling it a lawnmower. Kelly Davis takes the lead. Said you took pole in nice. Pro, yeah. The Honda takes pole in Pro Series here tonight, and that is a good start for Michael Harris. And that's what he needs, Kelly, in this race, I think.
Yeah, and you get me wrong, Matt. I'm not aggressive or rude towards the Honda. I do believe it is the best lawnmower in the world, and a generator's brilliant. Honda generators, you got to love them. So, was it
Thruxton last year? We turned up. D Biggs was next to us, had a Honda generator.
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course he did.
All the best people have Honda generators. They're brilliant. Generators and lawnmowers. Cars,
they've made a few good touring cars.
They have made a few good touring cars, but so have Hyundai.
No, they've made one good touring car. They've only won it once.
Good driver in one. They probably
fair play.
I mean, Hondas are a funny thing. They are either extremely leery with the Civic Type R being like it's crashed through Halford's window, or incredibly boring like the Honda Jazz, which is is nicest in here in age. It's one thing or another with Hondas. They appeal to a mixed group of people, that's for sure. But there's one on pole tonight. Kieran O'Reilly on pole. I think, Matt, I don't know, got Tardock for company. This could be an interesting fight, couldn't it?
I think this could be a really interesting battle down to turn one. He's got Hoopert just behind him as well. Hoopert's no slouch, but...
no, absolutely.
If you look just behind them, Freeman, just about to say Will Freeman. And Jamal Cloudon's capable. P2 in race one, so he's more than capable.
Yeah, more than capable. He'll certainly be around to pick up the pieces when it all goes wrong. So, and he's had a good night this evening. Tardock hasn't moved off the line yet for some reason. I don't know why. And I mean, that doesn't really matter. He gets going now. So, I don't know if he just wasn't paying attention or he wants extra tarmac time. I don't know. Yeah. But he's coming back through. Of course, as you can... I don't know what you can see on the stream at the moment, but the cars ghost as they go around on the formation lap, so he won't. He's driving through people back to his position, but he won't destroy anybody's race because they ghost through. Just in case you didn't know that.
I'm glad you've cleared that up. Good evening to Adam Thomas in the chat. Guarantee. If you're stuck behind a car in Cornwall lanes, it's a bloody Honda Jazz. Absolutely. I won't repeat what he actually typed, but I guarantee that it is a Honda Jazz.
Yeah.
That's because you're all on your way to pick up a Ginsters past it. And I've only mentioned it, Rob, because Kelly insulted the Honda.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah. Well, it's okay, Matt. That's all right.
Do you know, in all fairness, you think over the years of how many times we've mentioned Ginsters and Cornish passes, and we still don't have a sponsorship?
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
I'm sure I've done the Ginsters story on stream before about how they were going to sponsor our local BMX club, and then the commentator, which wasn't me at that time, managed to spoil the sponsorship deal by calling them not a proper pasty, but there you go.
There we go.
It's a funny story, but it's a bit long-winded.
Note to self that if you're ever... You have told me that one before. Note to self, if you're ever getting a sponsorship deal, maybe don't say bad things about them before the deal is signed, because you have lost out on a lot of money.
Absolutely, and you know, Ginsters are a big company, and it would have done that particular BMX club
huge
an awful
amount,
lot of
yeah,
good.
huge
Yeah,
amount.
you know, you know, that's a key fact there from Matt Duffin. Don't insult people who are going to sponsor you. So, and I'd like to say good evening to Rubicon, because I'm hoping they're going to sponsor us at some point, and send us lots of mango juice, because it's just lovely, you know. So yeah, Rubicon, if you're listening, SimPlay for the win. Come on, let's have a sponsorship deal.
Well, while we're coming down to the back end of the circuit, let's show you a bit of what is coming up. We've got the rest of this calendar, this amazing calendar that we've got coming up for you. We go to Nürburgring next week, Red Bull Ring the second night race, then we got Alton Park, Watkins Glen and Donington Park. If you want to become a Patreon, remember you can do so by by donating £3 a month. You'll get to reserve your driver number, priority access, sign up and events, track suggestions toward future seasons. That's going to change for next season. More details to come. Keep your eyes out on social media. Pre-season promo images and an auto share to social media links. And what that does is that allows us to not only put on these servers for the racing every season, but it also allows us to supply with a little bit of something from Design Manchester, obviously engraved gifts and mugs and personalised things that we could just give out to the champions at the end of the season. While we we'll get into the sponsors a little later. I'll read the proper description of the sponsors a little later on, because, Kelly, we are about to get going for round 14 of this season. It is O'Reilly on pole. Tardock's got a bit of a lead, though, on the circuit. O'Reilly's not got the best of getaways. He comes side by side with Tardock now. We are green here for round 14 at Imola. Freeman and Hoopit going side by side at it as well. O'Reilly comes back in front of the Ford Mustang. That's Ben breaking on the grass, and Ben's days ran out there. His numbers fell short, and O'Reilly managing to just hold on from Tardock, who gets around the outside at the exit of Tamburello, and O'Reilly now coming under pressure from Hoopit. Hoopit's kind of being boxed in from Friedman, who's going to try and go around the outside. You've then got Silf and Clouden side by side. Hoopit and Friedman together. They're both off the circuit. Hoopit's trying to come back on now, and Dan will pass one, but not two. Jamal Clouden gets past one, but not two. Dan goes side by side with Overtaker on the corner exit now as we go on stick to the helicam. There is Will Friedman sticking with Jamal Clouden just in front of the two of them, and now tucks back in behind. Oh, did he just give Clouden a tap up the rear? And Overtaker's had to avoid and gone wide. And Dan, 1, 2, 3, nearly.
And that's Viper been hit. Viper's been hit by, I think
it was Overtaker. It was.
I'm not sure. I think it might have been Overtaker. He scat him off at Aqua Minerale and goes tumbling down the order. Mike Matthews goes through, Matt Wright, all those. So not so good. As Mike touches the back of Overtaker, throws him wide in the chicane, just got caught out. More drama going on in front as well. It's like Pro-Am night. You know, there are cars so well behaved.
There are cars everywhere at the moment, Kelly. As Jamal's now going to lose out to Hoopert, maybe come back up the inside after going across the chicane. Now will he lose out to Hoopert? Yes, he will. He's got Freeman back behind him. But Overtaker and Viper did come together. That was Overtaker flashing the lights. Hoopert gets a bit of a wiggle out of the corner, and here comes Jamal Clouden. And down the start-finish straight they come, side by side. McLaren versus Mustang, with the Porsche of Will Freeman watching on in the background. They've then got that Overtaker sat there as well. So all going well. Overtaker's maybe looking for a move up the inside on his teammate, and he thought about it for a moment into Tamburello. Clouden bounces over the sausages, and through goes Will Friedman on. That's Clouden off. Hoopert went off as well as him, and Hoopert made contact. Overtaker chopping the nose off of Mike there, and it is chaos. 13 cars, but drama. Yeah. They're 3 wide with Ben in the background with the Nissan and Viper, and the Nissan and Matt Wright comes out on top.
I tell you what, for a lap and a half, it's been absolute chaos. As Matt Wright runs wide out of the chicane, it's been absolute chaos. Everyone I jump onto seems to be flashing their lights at somebody else. There's some angry drivers out there, I'm telling you.
There is indeed, but it is Tarlock, we can say, is winning this race from O'Reilly with Self P3. Dan Davis is up into 4th place with Hoopert sideways through that of Piratella, then down towards Aquaminalare now. He's got Friedman on the back of him, and he's a little squirrely as Hoopert at the moment. He's then got Overtaker and Mike Matthews not a million miles behind. Then P9 is Matt Wright from Ben Ruck with Viper, Tobias Offer and Jamal Clouden now down in 13th.
Yes, it's gone really badly for Jamal in the second race. He's tumbled right down the order, got involved in some of these incidents, and there's been plenty of them. I hope the stewards are ready in their office and they've got a big notepad, because there's going to be a lot of tickets to write out this evening. And yeah, it's all kind of mixed up quite well. Dan's kind of come out quite well out of all that. Do you think Hooper is struggling a little bit with some damage?
His car's all over the place, Kelly. I'm just watching him and Friedman here, and he is so squirrely on the exit of every single corner. Is Hooper here? I don't know if he's got a. Somebody like his brake light was flashing a little bit there, Hooper, on the back of Will Friedman.
I'm seeing that. But
I'm not sure if that's the rain light of the Ford that he may have caught a button to have on.
Oh, clumsy through that chicane as well, just bumped over the curb. He's struggling with that car as Friedman goes a bit wide, a bit unsighted, goes wide out of the first chicane, but gets overtaken by Overtaker, goes around Will Friedman. Will jumped to one side, must have seen him coming, and tries to go round the outside of the hairpin. A few people have tried that move tonight, but Will gets to the inside quite well. That's quite clever. He's got to the inside of Overtaker now. Overtaker's got to be aware that he's there. He'll know he's there by his proximity sensors. Will keeps his foot in and takes the position. Yeah,
and there was a small bit of contact there. It looked like Will bounced off the curb a little bit into the path of Overtaker. This has brought Mike Matthews right into play, into Aquamin Alari, as Mike Matthews got very close under the brake in there of the Overtaker. Overtaker flashing the lights at Will Friedman, not seeing why at the moment. Sticky pedal, says Chris Daines. That may be the case on the brake pedal for Hooper, which is why we saw the brake lights flashing a little bit. I would explain why Hooper's maybe not had overall great pace tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just an actual the way the screen looks in this light with reflective light on the back of it, or what. They weren't as bright as brake lights, but it certainly looked like something was flashing on the back of his car. Must be the I'm broken light. I don't know.
Well, at the minute, Silf has got onto the back of O'Reilly. That's 0.8 of a second. The top three have left and Davis for dead. He is nowhere near them. But then he's nowhere near this battle. Just further back down the order, Matt Wright's trying to get back on the rear of Ben with Viper, Tobias Hoffer, and then Jamal Clouden trying to come through. Let's go to Silf and O'Reilly. O'Reilly, great lap one pace to take that pole position. He'll be wanting to get up back on the podium, but at the moment, he's just kind of in no man's land.
Yeah, sorry, who was that? I was reading the chat then, sorry.
Silf and O'Reilly.
Silton O'Reilly, absolutely. They're Tardoc's dropping these two now a little bit, and as you say, Dan's in a little bit of a race on his own at the moment. Dan will be starting to think about strategy and what he can do to try and drag himself a little bit closer to these front three. O'Reilly dropping away from Tardoc when he's got mirrors absolutely full of stealth, and we know how quick stealth is as well.
Overtaker still flashing Friedman. Sorry, Kelly. I've just gone back on board with Overtaker and Friedman, and Overtaker once again still flashing Will Friedman.
Might be just his strategy, to be fair. You know what? Maybe he's been watching some old touring car races, because touring car boys were always keen on flashing their lights for no particular reason other than I'm here, you know. So, I don't know, maybe it's his thing.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that at the moment. Overtaker is not quite on the... I believe there is a rule. I know that one button press is about 6 flashes, but then if you get about 12 to 18 flashes, you've kind of overly done it a bit, haven't you? You know what I mean? I don't know why that rule was ever brought in. I think it's a stupid rule.
No. So I'm not overly keen on it. If you want to flash your lights, flash your lights. It usually doesn't bother me. But yeah, as I say, it was a rule that was introduced for some reason. Excessive flashing, you know. Yes, might have been one Matahimovic who was wearing out his headlights doing it. I don't know.
I think that's the only button on the G29 that doesn't work anymore due to the fact that it's been worn down that much. Yeah, exactly. Tardoc leads them 3.5 seconds clear of O'Reilly, who's coming under a bit of pressure from Silf, but they've both still pulled away from Dan. So Dan's just got no answer to the front three at the moment. And somebody said in the chat, Rob Smith, the reverse grids are the cause of the chaos. Hang on a minute. This kind of has been the common theme in the Pro Series, hasn't it? The reverse grid races have been good, and the penultimate race is the one that's caused the chaos.
And if we're going to go down that road again, then I'm all for reverse grid. I think it makes for a good show, and that's what we're here for, you know.
Well, let's just point out that Remy Fernie has won 2 races this week on the reverse grid. Who's not won a race or been close to the podium all season? So that's what the reverse grid does. Just looking at O'Reilly's opened that gap back up to Silv, so let's go back to overtake and Freeman. Not a lot happening. Oh, Viper's got a lot of rear end damage. Matt Wright's got back ahead of Ben Rook as well.
Is this a great opportunity to tell people about the exciting charity event that we're doing in May?
Yeah, in May. Bank Holiday
Weekend. We are revisiting the Nordschleife for 24 hours for cancer research or Stand Up for Cancer?
Cancer research.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Cancer research. 24 hours of the Nordschleife. We've done it once before when Sabine Schmidt passed away. We got our heads together and decided we felt strong enough that we needed to do something. We did a 24-hour for cancer then, which was very successful, and I think we raised somewhere in the region of £1,200.
£1,200, yep.
Yeah, and we had a great day. It was absolutely fantastic. Me and Dan went the full distance, as did Matt. And, as that was
Jamal
Clouden getting into the back of Viper there. A little bit too a bit late on the brakes. So we're going to do it again for cancer research. What's changed since the last time we did it is the format. Well, the game. ACC we're now on instead of Project Cars. And again, Matt, I don't know about you. I mean, I say that I'm reasonably good around the Nordschleife, as in I know the track and know which corners are which. I can't get a valid lap together. It's rock hard.
Yeah, I detest the circuit, can't stand the circuit, never have liked the circuit. I like the spectacle of the Nordschleife 24. I also haven't put a valid lap together. But we are doing the 24 hours for cancer research, as Kelly said. Maybank Holiday Weekend. The qualifying will be the night before, where you designate a driver to qualify that night. That designated driver cannot start the race on the Saturday, which will give drivers a bit of a mixed feeling there, I'm sure. But this is all in aid of cancer research. It is all just a charity event, and we've got to remember that as much as tempers may flare up on the circuit and whatever, one, it's 24 hours. It may not be the end of your day, because you can guarantee that people are going to have bigger incidents in places. And two, let's all finish the race, because it is for such a good cause, and we don't want to see people really retiring from that one when it is for the cause, not for any, it's not for points, it's not for prizes. Now, what has happened to Dan, because Dan has been overtaken by Overtaker and is now side by side with Will Friedman, coming into turn 1, leaves Will just enough room on the outside line, has a bit of a wiggle, does Dan, through the middle pot. I would hazard to guess, Kelly, that Dan's made yet another mistake this season.
Well, it's got to be, because he had a couple of seconds in 4th, and now he dropped back a whole load of points. Dan's written his season off this year. He said that it's not gonna happen. He's in the wrong car for him. Can't take it to the fastest guys. And once you pick a car, that's you make your bed, you lie in it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Once you've chosen that car, that's what you've got for the season. There's no change. This car don't really suit me, can I have something else? You have to stick with it. Those are the rules. So Dan's got to live by it, and not working out for him. I reckon he'll come back very strong next season.
I think he'll be stronger. I think it depends on what other people are running, that the off-air rumours of the MSA drivers going back to their more favoured car, I think they've got a bit more over Dan at the moment. I believe. I don't believe this is all the car that is doing the job. I think that'll be closer. I think if they go back to their preferred car, that Tordok especially could still be number 1.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just reading the chat here, and Ian Best saying that 13 cars, and they still try and send it on the first lap of an hour-long race.
Yeah.
Rob Smith's 100% for reverse grids. Yeah. He had his best race in the reverse grid race last night. Had his best result. Skunky says what causes incident is impatient drivers. There's a time and a place to make a move, but some here are ergonomics. I don't even know that first.
Yes, emphatically economics that don't give a damn.
So basically, they're impatient. There's time to make a move in a place, but people are too many egos. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. That here inflate egomaniacs is what it says. Yeah. That just don't give an yes. We won't repeat that last word. But that does kind of sum it up, Kelly, doesn't it? Is at times there is drivers that are just too impatient.
We've talked about this before. Sim racers are a different breed because there is no consequences to sending one up the inside. Not really, you know what I mean? You're not going to. There's no danger factor, and there's no financial problem, you know, with it either. ACC above. Oh, as Dan goes wide again and gets done by Will Freeman into the chicane. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he's done it. Got down before he even got to the chicane, and Dan bounces over the chicane.
That car looks a different car, does Dan Davis? It looked a lot better in race one than what it does here. It seemed to take that chicane a lot better. Mike Matthews, by the way, just behind. Look at that, coming under pressure from the Nissan.
Absolutely, get on the Nissan. It was like we were saying. Sim racing is a different thing. You don't win a race in the first corner. You can't. And yes, I mean, I'll be the first one to say, that I've been victim of impatient drivers. I'm not the quickest on the grid. Everyone knows it. But I'm good at defending, and then that takes patience to the person behind to deal with that. And that's what it's about. It's about strategy. It's about finding that spot and that weakness.
You've said it in the past, Kelly, that because there is no consequence, because there is no bill to pay on repairing the car, because you aren't out of this race, that you feel that people sort of make their manoeuvres. And I fully agree with you with that, because this is only a simulation, that you do get that kind of incident. Now, obviously, there is down to the drivers to submit the tickets for the stewards to look at and to investigate. This is what it all seems down to. But there's been a lot of times where people haven't submitted the ticket, so it has gone unpunished. And the thing I say about that, and we spoke about it last week a bit with the Dan and Carlos incident, is Dan said at the time that he doesn't see the point in putting the Carlos ticket in because of the fact that Carlos retired. It's not going to do anything. Yeah. But if that ticket doesn't go in, or any ticket doesn't go in, that's not their first strike, which means first strike, Carlos got a 2 set penalty points and 20-second time penalty. If he does that again on lap 1, again, like he did last week, that'll then become a 3 penalty point and a 30-second time penalty. So the penalties will always increase.
I think there is a degree, it depends on the type of person you are, I suppose. There is a degree, if you're, as Matt Wright is having a proper crack at Mike Matthews at the moment, so got really close to him there in the last couple of corners. We'll keep an eye on that one. Nobody likes having tickets put in on them, but it's got to improve your driving. I mean, I had a couple of tickets put in on me for last night. 2 were very valid. I put my hands up to both the incidents where I didn't brake quick enough and I knocked somebody round. I will certainly, as they come together, Mike Matthews and Matt Wright come together, so they both lose out to Ben saying thank you very much, there's a couple of positions.
And Mike's slow, sorry, a flash of lights between the two. That's Mike letting Matt Wright through. Cloudon's finally got past Viper, but that's now put the back 3 onto them two.
And as I said, we don't, I don't like seeing tickets put in about me. Any ticket that goes in, I question myself, think how I could do it better. But then you do also get some tickets put in that aren't quite so reasonable when, when it's quite obvious that it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a case of judging that. But we want everyone to be the best driver they can be. It doesn't always pan out. Another thing we were talking about off air is that we have got between GT4 and Pro-Am to Pro, we have got a very wide range of abilities. Some brilliant, some not so great as well. But we don't discriminate. We don't make a criteria. If you want to come and race with us, you can. So we've also got to take that into consideration, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. And this is something that the admins, and our new admin Matt Wright are working towards. You see in the GT4s on Tuesday night, the rating system of gold, bronze and silver has been introduced in terms of white is for gold, silver is for silver, obviously, and the red numbers are for the bronze driver. So even though there's not separate points for them, it will give a driver a sense of maybe achievement that they've beaten a couple of silver and gold drivers, maybe that they are the top of the bronze category, or whichever way round it will be. But it gives you that sort of feeling of, as well, maybe looking at the penalties, that, well, hang on a moment, you're a gold driver, why are you being impatient against a bronze driver, for example?
Well, yeah, this is it. And, you know, we've discussed this and we've discussed this, and there is no clear answer, you know. I think part of it has just got to be, you know, it's sim racing, you know, and that's how it goes. I would like everyone to live in the same world as Skunky and what he's saying, but yeah, it doesn't always work like that. So.
Well, Chris Dane said that these drivers seem quite safe to me. You've got to go for the gap. 100% you've got to go for the gap. What you've got to do is go for the gap in a safe manner, though. You can't be overly aggressive and push people off the track. Chris saying that it won't cost you pounds if you smash up like in real life and no injuries. Skunky saying that go for the gap and risk your whole race and others, but a clever racer will know where to make that move. Sitting behind people and putting them under pressure is a good feeling. Just ask Matt, as his pressure is pretty strong this season. It's incredibly strong. It's unreal. Ian Best, I can't wait to get promoted to pros next season. I will win so many races because they have all crashed. And Rob Smith saying that if I make any contact, my fault or others, I clip a replay and then review it the day after. When I'm calm and relaxed, if you don't review things, you never improve. 100%. Also on that, as we see Jamal get very close to the back of Mike Matthews into the final corner. Mike, both had a little wiggle on the exit there. That, you know, like Skunky says, yes, I'm under pressure, but at the end of the day, it's a different learning curve. It's not the same as last season where the Mercedes was the best car and I managed to pull away in the championship. It is a different kettle of fish. I am fighting in the top 10. But then moves aren't being made by me and other drivers as Clouden goes up the inside into Tamburello. That's a lovely move on Mike Matthews, but he's got a Tamburello a little bit wrong as Jamal Clouden, and Mike Matthews gets right up the rear wing of the McLaren. Can't get close enough, though, to make the move stick and get past, as Mike now into Villeneuve will sit down in P11. But it is interesting to say, and the one thing that we have to say as well is that even though we are going to look to improve and bring in this gold and silver and whatever into Pro and Pro-Am next season, you know, there may be that chance of running Pro-Am as Pro-Am and AMs, where the AMs of the drivers like DJ Phil, for example, may run a GT4 car because they're a little easier to set up and stuff like that, making it a bit easier for them to learn a racecraft. Also, if they're in an AM category, they're in their own category. A decision can always be appealed. You will need no evidence on that appeal, or we will need a good explanation as to why you think that. But a decision can always be appealed. Yeah. Oh, I am. No, but yes, you're right, Skunky, as well there. Sorry, I thought you meant I was under pressure. I am putting people under pressure. Instead of making risky moves. Well. But that is what you have to do, though, Skunky. You know, there's been times this season where in GT4s I've been down the order. I can't just come past some of the slower drivers because I've got more pace than them. I should be at the front of the pack. That's not the way racing is. No, just because someone's slower in front of you doesn't mean they need to get out of the way. Motor racing is basically the fastest game of patience, you know? You need to line your race, you need to line your opponent up, you need to know where they're slower and be able to pass them cleanly instead of just looking at a gap and thinking, I'm going in that, when that gap is obviously going to close. You've got to understand what the car in front is doing and how he's doing it. You know, it's different lines around different corners, as we all know, and as I said, a gap can appear, but that gap's going to close by the time you get there, and that's what you've got to read as well. And you know, it's not all about pace, and you know, that's the fact of the matter. And I would love to be in the position where we could all be matched with people of our own pace, you know. But again, you know, we're a sim league of, I don't know how many, maybe 50 or 60 drivers, and you know, on a worldwide scale, that's not a lot of drivers. So you know, we have to kind of go with what we got. So well, if you look at I still don't think there's, you know, I think there never is a proper answer. We can just keep trying to find a good format. If you look at the drivers that turn up, so you say 50 to 60, we've got 22 in Pro that's raced this season. You go down into Pro-Am, we've got 38 in GT4. We've got a good 36. So we've got a lot of drivers, but like you say, especially let's talk the GT4s, Kelly, because that is the real mixed grid of drivers.
It is, yeah, and I did GT4 last season and was shocked how incredibly hard it was. You know, again, you've got, you know, these guys here, you've got Tardock, O'Reilly, you know, in that category yourself, you know,
yep.
as a champion, and yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think I broke much more than the top 10 all season, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's, you know, but was in that top 10, you know, on the verge of that top 10 quite a lot, you know. There was a lot of drivers behind me who were, you know, who weren't as quick as me. So, you know, it's a great category, GT4. If you don't tune in and watch it, you really should, because it is great, great action. And the cars are, as you said, are a lot easier to set up and a lot easier to drive. So, you know, you don't have like these GT3 cars a big setup issues. You know, so yeah, it is great. You need to watch it.
Ian Best saying, I think we need an M2 championship. That's the great leveler. Keep your eyes out for next season, Ben, because there is, Ian, sorry, M2, there is a lot coming. Well, the M2s is the American Touring course category, so that's what that is. Just noting that Dan Davies has passed Will Friedman and got ahead by quite the margin. Ben's gaining on him a little bit. Not a lot happening. Pit window opens in a minute. Oh, Will Friedman very wide out the chicane there, nearly in the wall was Friedman. So just maybe so. Dan's got 4 seconds to overtake it, and it's going to be interesting. Gowning, great GT4's great racing. Skunky GT4's all day. I think we need an M2 championship. Yep, we said that. I love the M2's closest thing to touring cars and ACC. You're racing GT4's. Oh, sorry, no, that's Gownie replying to Skunky there. I've not really seen much of Skunky all season, to be fair. Gownie and GT4s and GT3s. The poor guys had a bit of a season to forget, and hopefully we'll get him back to his best. Sylph, by the way, I keep flicking to Sylph, trying to give others screen time, but every time I'm giving others screen time, that's when Sylph seems to get closest to O'Reilly.
Yes. I've been on board. I've been on board with Ben now, who's getting closer and closer to Will Friedman. But I was on with Stilth for a long time, and it's ebbing and flowing, Matt. That one.
Ebbing and flowing, yeah.
Yeah, he gets close, and then O'Reilly gets the edge and goes forward a little bit. As I said, it's a little bit stalemate at the moment on track. I mean, we have only got 13 drivers, and I hope the commentary is keeping you entertained this evening. And because there's plenty of chat going on, and we like that. Keep your comments coming, good or bad. If you agree with us or disagree with us, we don't mind. We're grown-ups, we can take it. Well, I can. I don't know about Matt, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure I can take it. Pit window is open for the chat, though. I agree, Rob. I'm going to slow to help you improve your overtaking. Chris, we need Wreckfest season. I can play then. Chris,
just go on an open lobby.
I asked Ben last week in GT4, so when we're getting your dad race, and I didn't get an actual answer. When are you getting ACC, Chris, to come and race with us? Okay, we'll try and get Chris, Emily's dad, on. We'll try and get him sorted too. We'll get all the dads on.
Race.
Yeah.
Would I qualify in that?
Are you a dad?
I am.
There we go then.
My son happens to be a 10 times champion.
You had to get that one in there, didn't you? You just had to get that one in there. Technically, then
I'm GT5.
You going the wrong way tonight, Kelly Davis. Let me tell you.
Didn't hear that coming either, did you? Hey, you didn't hear that coming at all.
He wanted 1 GT5s if he didn't T-bone me at the final hairpin, but whatever. Yeah. Will Freeman's the first man into the pit lane, by the way. And also, then if it's a dad race, I can race.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is it the dad of competing drivers, or is it just a dad?
James, you're racing next week.
We've had we used to have that in BMX racing. You'd have a dad's race, and that was usually carnage. Yeah.
All taking each other out on the first lap.
Oh yeah. Nothing worse than a competitive dad. Nothing worse. The kids were always good as gold. It's the parents that are always the competitive ones.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you put them on the track, oh my God, they think they can still ride a bike, and then they crash into each other. Really quite funny, but health and safety nightmare.
Chris says he can't play it. Well, Chris, you best get learning from Ben.
It's only a car. How difficult can
it
be?
Do you drive one daily? Yes. There we go. Pick the Honda.
Yeah, how difficult can it be? But yeah, pick a Honda. At least the grass will look nice.
He's done his gardening today. See what I mean?
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Will Freeman coming out of the pits seems to have no lights on, but there we go, they're back on now. Maybe he was recharging his battery, I don't know. But he's out of the pits now. Will Freeman still in 12th place at the moment, but the first one to blink and out again. What's the matter with you? What now?
His dad just said I'm faster than you lot, though. It just made me chuckle. Right. Do I get points for going backwards? No, sadly. No,
definitely not.
I think we need to look into this. I'll have to speak with Emily at the end of this race and get that sorted.
Have you put in your own sim rig, Matt? Have you put a complete novice on your game and let them drive? Have you ever tried it? It's someone who's never played before, but who can obviously drive a car.
Yes.
Yeah, I have too. What an absolute mess of it they made. They all seem to want to drive it like they stole it. You know,
drive it like that, and then they hold the wheel like it's an actual car as well, and it's like no.
Yeah, the guy I let do it, I've more than one. The guy I let do it was almost throwing the stim rig steering wheel from one side to the other. I mean, he was like, he was just physically pulling it from one side to the other, and it's like, what the hell are you doing?
I'm not oohing at that, Kelly. I'm oohing at the fact that Ben's now on the back of Dan by 4/10 of a second. These Porsches seem to have died.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I know cold conditions are normally cold conditions is normally favours a Beetle.
I'd have said, Herbie loves a good cold condition.
He does. Yeah.
But with 29 minutes into the race, so a bit longer than the race one distance, but at the minute, both of them, because Friedman didn't look good towards the end of his stint, they are struggling out here. Ben is right up behind Dan at the moment.
Absolutely, and Dan crashed through the chicane again. There was nothing smooth about it whatsoever. So Dan seems to be struggling with this car, as you say, as is Friedman. Sky Schundermeyer isn't here for this second race, so he was also in the Porsches. Dan goes through, they all go through. Only Viper and Friedman have chose to pit just at the moment. Nobody else in the pit at the moment. You would think that Porsche was better in the cold conditions. As I say, it's a Beetle, should have the boot lid open and cooling. Just like the Run to the Sun ones. Rob Smith will know what I'm talking about by Run to the Sun. It always still is a bit of a Cornish car show full of Beetles.
TJ Phil says, when is ACC Evo being released? It's out on PC. There is no news for it coming out to console yet. Would you be going to racing on it? What's the difference? AC Evo is a bit more like a Gran Turismo Forza type game. It's open world. It seems
a bit arcadey, is it? Right.
I don't know if it's arcadey. I'm not sure.
Right.
But
I hear Thruxton's on it.
No. Thruxton's just been added to iRacing.
Oh, right, maybe that was what I heard. Yeah.
I don't think Thruxton's on it anyway, but it's got a Gran Turismo sort of Forza feel to open worldness. So, a lot of road cars. So whether we will go there or not, I don't know.
They got the Honda Jazz.
Not sure what's on it. To be fair, I've not really looked. Would you be still doing ACC Evo? That's the question. We'll probably still be doing ACC at the moment. Rennsport is the game that we're looking at. We obviously spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. That's the one that's coming. There's also a game coming from the developers of Project Cars. A couple of them have left and moved on to their own things. There's going to be one coming some point this year. Unsure when exactly, and unsure what it's going to be like exactly. We just know it is in development, so we have to wait and see.
Yes, well, that'd be interesting to see. What they do.
The problem, I think we've got a problem at the moment, though, now, Kelly. And I'll put this towards you. It's O'Reilly Hooperton overtake a pit. Dan and Ben stay out. Now Dan has dropped Ben a little bit. The problem I think we've got now as a community was we was solely PlayStation with Project Cars 2. F1 then opened it up to cross-platform, and we started to invite some Xbox drivers in. We are now full cross-platform as a league. I don't think we can go to a game that is solely PlayStation anymore.
No, because looking up what have we got tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the, so half the field are Xbox users.
Yeah.
They're mad. They should get a PlayStation because they're obviously
100%.
superior.
Yeah.
But they, nevertheless, whatever their thinking is, it's not right. But whatever it is, they've got Xboxes. So I think you're quite right. Yeah, it's got to be cross-platform, whatever it is. So yeah, that's the restrictions now, I suppose.
No, nothing stopping, like a little side series maybe for the PlayStation users. Because obviously, this is one of the things we've done. Gran Turismo was just PlayStation down again through the chicane. Not comfortable. That car isn't happy.
No, you're quite right. It certainly isn't. Who we got in the pits at the moment? The leaders are in. Tardok's in, and his teammate. Luckily, they don't have to share a pit garage like.
Do you remember back on the Project Cars 2 days? The rule was you couldn't pit at the same time as your teammate.
No, that was it. You couldn't. You had to think about it. You had to be in contact with your. I miss Project Cars 2. I really do. Why can't they make an updated version of it? It's Let's hope that the guys that have split away have done something good. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Ben pits then to free up Dan. Will Friedman's a second off the back of Overtaker. He's not, so that must have been his overtake across the line to where Will Friedman was in his pit box. Cloudon's on the back of Mike at the moment, so Mike's got ahead of Cloudon after their pit stops then. Hoffer's yet to pit, he's moved up the order. Tardok is now away and released. Keep your eyes on Silf though, because O'Reilly pitted the lap before Silf and was ahead. O'Reilly's now into the first part of Rivatsa, 26 minutes left in this race. Now at the second part of Rivatsa, let's go on board with O'Reilly, because this could be tight, Down the start straight, O'Reilly comes now then towards the start-finish line. Ben is still in his pit box, so Ben's not a worry, but that wasn't the case anyway, because O'Reilly was miles in front. And Silf, off the pit limiter, is already at turn 1. Here's jumped O'Reilly, absolute peach.
Yeah, by a long shot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So good work for him. This is interesting. Skunky saying that the new Xbox won't cross-platform with the PlayStation as it's a PC hybrid. So
that's the one that's. I think that's the one that's coming out eventually, isn't it? Like towards the PS6 days. So basically, everybody just needs to buy. Although I read something or watched something earlier, PlayStation have outsold Xbox by an absolute country mile at the moment. So yeah, people need to get a PlayStation.
Yeah, I have 6 of them, I think. Not all PS5s, of course.
Obviously,
I've got all the classics.
Dan Davis and Matt Wright into the box. Tobias Hoffer coming round to his pit box now, or to the final corner. He'll have to pick. He's got no other option. Well, he might actually miss the pit window. He's got to get in.
It's going to be tight,
sharpish, 18 seconds. That's going to be a little bit close. Mike's dropped Cloudon here, so whatever's happened there has happened. 12 seconds. Tobias still not in. You've got to wait for that P to pop up on the screen. He's in now.
He's in now, yeah. With less than 10 seconds to go, that was cutting it a little bit fine for Hoffer, but he done it. Good man. So
Ben's got close to Overtaker, 2.9. That gap was bigger, Dan to Overtaker, than 2.9 seconds before Dan and Ben pitted. So either Overtaker's had a bad stop or Ben's had a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I was just reading the chat, and again, Skunky coming back 26-27 as Xbox can't compete with PlayStation no more. So it's in the future, but then the future's always on its way. Well, whatever it is, we'll do the best that we can, and
Oh, Dan may have jumped. Dan may have jumped Overtake. No, ignore me. Overtaker's just past him. I thought Dan had done enough to just jump Overtaker, but he's very close to Overtaker now. So whatever Dan and Ben have done, they've got closer to him.
Yes, they went side by side into turn 1, but Dan backed out of that. Overtaker had the inside line and high ground on that one, but Dan is nice and close now. Let's see if he can get that Porsche hooked up again.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting now. This is riding on board with Dan Davis at the moment. They come through Tozer and up towards Piratella for the 20th time of asking. 23 minutes left in this race. Any questions you've got in the chat, let's hear from you. Me and Kelly don't mind answering your questions, especially with a small amount of cars on on the grid at the moment. We'll try and answer every question we possibly can, because we have the time to do so with the action being little and far between. I'm wondering now
Matt,
then. Yeah.
Matt, good news though.
Go on.
Big news. I've got one more subscriber on my YouTube channel.
There we go.
I've gone from 84 to 85 subscribers. If you'd like to go over to my go over to my YouTube channel. That's Audio Sport, and just I don't even care if you watch the videos or not. Just give me more subscribers. That's all I ask.
While you're there as well, may as well go down into the description and go and check out Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. Link to their Facebook page in the description. And while you're also there, head over to Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW Transporter and T4 audio solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. Also, their Facebook link is in the description as well. I thought I'd get both in there while we're doing it.
Well done. Perfect. Yeah.
Ben didn't take tyres, Chris has just said.
Oh, okay. He's trying to make the tyres run to the end. So
his tyres will be warmer than a fresh set.
Yeah. I think it's doable. I think it's doable. I really do. And they're still in close contact still. So Ben behind Dan, who's behind overtaking, they're still quite close for a minute.
Well, probably I don't think Dan took tyres now, Kelly, because that gap was well over 5 seconds from Dan to overtaker.
Yeah, they've stuck on the same tyres, you know, both of them, I reckon.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So that's possibly a good shout. It's got them closer to overtaker. And at this point in the race, is it worth the gamble? You have to say yes to do something.
Yeah, and as I said, I think it's highly doable. I really wish I'd done it last night, but I think with these cold conditions, I think these tyres can go for the full hour with no problem whatsoever. So they might get a little bit threadbare towards the end, but Ben closes right up to Daniel on the last chicane, and he's struggling there, bouncing that Porsche over the chicanes. Can't seem to get it right, but yeah, Ben in close contact. They'll be in a party together. Yeah, will they be having will Ben be saying let me through, let me have a go overtaker?
Well, Chris has just said that he thinks Danny's slowing Ben down, so
well,
that's not a comment you've been able to hear for a while, is it?
Yeah, no, and Ben has been really good this season as he gets a real good run towards turn 1 on Dan. He's not close enough to make a move, but he's very close as Dan goes a little bit deep into 1. That compromises 2 and 3 and gives Ben another run as they come down to the next set of corners, but again not close enough as plenty of curve both sides. Dan keeps it in the limit, right on the edge of the limits there, and as they come down into the hairpin, they're not gaining as a collective on Overtaker, but Overtaker's not getting away either. Yeah,
no, it's just not going to be he's pulled 7/10 in the first half of this lap as Overtaker, but Freeman's caught slightly. I'm going to go back down to Mike Matthews and Jamal Cloud and Fire. Let's take a look at that one, because that's pretty close at the moment. Tyres would be warmer, sorry Rob, but they'll more quickly come up to pressure on the alternator tyres than the new ones. It is going to be an interesting race, so I think. Nürburgring next week. Always enjoy a good race around the Nürburgring. It's a brilliant place to race.
Yeah, it is a good race, and again, as we said before, I've done a lot of laps around it, as I did the 24 hours. So yeah, I usually go quite well at Nuremberg. I won't be doing this week. I'm only making a couple of appearances in the Pro-Am this week. That'll be the rest of the Pro-Am field having an absolute sigh of relief that KLF won't be there winding things up every race. But Nuremberg is a great Grade 1 FIA GP track. So. And we'll be in the daylight with hopefully a little bit more temperature in the tyres.
Well, I'm just trying to look at the weather now.
Okay. Of course, that starts on Tuesday night with GT4s. Yep. One track throughout the week and 3 different categories. GT4s on a Tuesday night with Dan Davis, your commentator, your sole commentator, doing the business on Tuesday nights. It's Lexi on a Wednesday on her own as well. And I listened to her for the first time today. And yeah, great commentator, Lexi. Tune in for her on Wednesday evening for the Pro-Am action. And there was plenty of action last last night, and Sweet and Sticky, the supreme dream team. Forget Brundle and Crofty. Yep. It doesn't get any better than me and Matt, and we're here every Thursday on the doing the pro action for you and talking general nonsense about motorsport, which we are really good at.
We are superb at. We just want a few more cars on the grid for a bit more action. The weather looks spicy for next week.
Does it? Does it? There's talk of rain about.
Well, so let me put it this way. So, dry tomorrow, rain Saturday, dry Sunday, rain Monday, sunny Tuesday, cloudy Wednesday, rain Thursday.
Rob Smith saying dry Tuesday and Wednesday, wet Thursday. Well, they are the pro drivers, Matt. They've got to earn their money, haven't they? They're supposed to be the best. You'd
imagine so, but knowing the way knowing the way that the weather goes, and all of a sudden I've looked at this now to be wet. Mike Matthews will post the weather next week, and it'll be bone dry for all 3 nights. Not a chance of rain in the sky, and all of a sudden, Kyle Army for Pro last week looked worse than Pro-Am. And Pro-Am, there was only a chance of showers. All of a sudden, sunshine, no chance of rain. So, yeah.
And the pros will whinge and moan that
100%.
It's always stacked. It's always stacked against them and all the rest of it.
It's terrible. Team Order says Skunky. Ben's not got close enough at the minute. Oh, saying that, he's right there now.
He's right there now. And who dictates those orders? Yeah, well, needs a boss man to
can't be boss man. He didn't run the correct livery last night from what was said in the chat. Someone's off. Who's off? That's the 208. Will Friedman has just been passed by Mike and Clouden, so he's had a moment off the circuit there as Jamal Clouden, as Will Friedman. Sorry. And this Porsche just looking worse. Dan's lost out another couple of attempts to overtake. That gap's 2 seconds now. So Friedman was catching Ben and Dan. He's now behind Matt Wright, Mike Matthews, and Jamal Clouden.
It could be a Porsche thing. It'd be interesting to catch up with these guys after the race and see what was going on with it. For sure. So, as you say, Clouden on the bike back of Mike Matthews, they're fighting for 9th and 10th positions. And, so next week, as you said, looking a little bit spicy for everyone. And... I was reading something in the chat, and team orders, that was it. Who could make that call? The team boss is busy doing other commitments at the moment, so I'll leave it for them to. I'll leave it for them to work it out for themselves.
Chris saying in the chat that he's scared to get past and do make it wrong. So. I'm sure that if Ben went to make a move on Dan, as he is doing now, Dan would give him full respect and room, and Ben gets through on Dan. Becoming the best of the rest this season is Ben, and it's another race he's going to finish in front of Dan Davis at the moment.
Yes, it is, and Dan didn't fight him too hard as Dan is. As he bounces across the chicane and nearly collects the back of Ben as Ben actually sticks the wheel on the gravel. Now, can Ben get his head down and get this gap down to overtake her? The gap is a couple of seconds now, but not unrealistic with 15 minutes still to go. So Ben already starting to pull away from Dan. Dan's struggling.
Dan is struggling, and Dan's got to be careful of Matt Wright because that gap's only 3 seconds. So we'll see through this first sector. Ben 3.2 to overtake him, but you just wonder how much that first sector's good. Matt Wright's getting 6/10 on Dan Davis in sector 2.
This could become a problem real quickly if he's gaining a half a second. Per sector. That could
it's 1.5 seconds a lap, nearly. That is, isn't it?
Could get tasty, but towards the end. So not too much fear from behind. Mike 14 seconds back from Matt Wright. So they're pretty much on a race of their own at the moment, and not much else going on, to be honest. Again, it's come to a bit of a stalemate, which I
think that's what you get though with 13 cars.
It is, I think that's a good opportunity, Matt, to revisit the conversation that we were having last night about classic SimPlay races. This channel's now been running for 6 years?
5 years this August.
5 years we've been racing with, we're on season, 7?
Season 7 of ACC, bearing in mind we did 7 seasons of Project Cars as well as bits as well as other bits.
14 seasons of action is now all available on YouTube. Yes, bar the odd one that glitched or whatever, right? But pretty much 14 seasons of SimPlay. You know, I've been there from nearly the beginning. Obviously, Matt has. Yep. He's the founder of the channel. And me and Dan have been in since nearly the start, and a lot of guys who followed you over from another league, like Gary, like Sutty, Monkey Boy, and so on and so forth, have been here right from the beginning. And we've had some absolute classics over the Overtaker's made a mistake, I think, because Ben has just shot right past him as he was recovering. I didn't see what happened to Overtaker, but he was slow, very slow.
No, he's lost 3 seconds, Kelly. Dan's now within a second of him. Matt Wright's still catching as well, so Overtaker's definitely made a mistake somewhere, and that's cost him big time.
I don't see where he made a mistake though. He was rolling down the straight, unless he I don't know.
Out of Piratella, maybe.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one to make a mistake there, though, isn't it? I mean, it's easy to run wide, but there's plenty of runoff there. Yeah,
but I'm just wondering if he's got caught on the curb at cold temperatures, that he's maybe just lost the rear. Just looking at the last laps, by the way, Dan to Matt Wright. Matt Wright at 42.4, Dan Davis at 43.6.
Yeah, he's, from what I can see, nearly a second closer on the back of Dan. Ben's now, he's got in front of Overtaker. He's starting to pull away a little bit now, just bit by bit. So Ben in another solid, that'll be a solid 5th place if he holds on to it, if nothing else happens in front of him in the next 12 minutes. So that could be a good result, another good result for Ben. Let's hope so. Yes, I was talking about all the classic races that we've had in 5 years and 14 seasons. That is a lot of racing, and we were talking last night, there's been some absolute classics. This came up because me and Kieran Argent were on track together, and we had a couple of ding-dongs over the years, and we've had some absolute classics. And tell us, guys, in the chat, would you like to see us relive some of the classics by, I don't know, reclipping them? I also had a thought, Matt, about maybe getting trying to do like they do on the Formula 1 thing, where they have Lewis Hamilton in commenting about his classic races. If we could get, for example, Dan and Gary in to talk about the Silverstone race that they had in the Porsches, which was an absolute classic. Maybe yourself and Dan in that infamous GT5 at Knock Hill, you know, and maybe we've got a lot of heritage all of a sudden. I think we should celebrate it a little bit.
Fully so.
Something, the guys in the chat, do you think that would be something you'd be interested in? It would be obviously something that would be put together by Matt and all the team, and for you guys to view, but just kind of clipping some of the best bits, really.
Yeah, like you say, 5 years of heritage. That's not just the main GT3 championships of 14 seasons. That's also, like we said, GT5s, Clio Cup, touring cars, F1. We've done a small. We was on Project Cars 2. We did a couple of ACC events, Gran Turismo events. We've done quite a few events that's been on the side as well. Now, Matt Wright within 0.8 of a second to Dan Davis, and Matt Wright really started closing on Dan. That Porsche. And it's not just Dan's Porsche. Friedman's he's only got past. In fact, he's not even got past Clouden yet. He's still 0.6 seconds off the back. So both Porsches in this race have died. But let us know what you think in the chat, and we'll get that sorted there.
In the chat, Kelly, think Ben needs a pay rise. Come on, steady on, Chris, isn't it? You know, dear oh dear. What think we're made of money here? You know, I wonder if I could register Team Audio Sport as a charity. I wonder if that's possible. Maybe. That's what I think of that idea, Chris. But he's doing a great job. He has my utmost respect.
Bearing in mind, don't forget the commentators here are the utmost unbiased commentators in the world. So by saying that Kelly, I think Ben needs a pay rise, it doesn't help the cause of how unbiased we all are.
Absolutely. I might get him some Skittles, because we used to pay drivers in Skittles back in the Prolapse days. So
pay him in Ginsters.
Steady on. I want to keep him.
Oh, Dan had a moment on the rear there, coming for Ravazza.
So did Matt Wright. I think Matt Wright's got traction on
there. We go. This is done. Matt. This is game over. Godzilla is going to thunder past Dan. Track limits for Sylph. Oh, at the towards the very end of the race, that's going to give O'Reilly the place. And Godzilla, well, it wasn't much of a fight. But he's got past him.
Ben into play? Does that bring Ben into play for another place there?
Well, let me tell you. More Ginsters in the pipeline. Where is this one? It will take you 38 seconds to do a drive-through penalty, so I think that brings...
5-10.
That could bring Ben into play.
Possibly. We'll see how that pans out. Ben might certainly. O'Reilly and Hooper should go through comfortably.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nip and tuck maybe with Ben. We'll see how that pans out. And Sil's got 3 laps to do his drive-through, has he not? He has, hasn't he? 3
he has, yeah.
Laps.
So he can arguably pull away that little bit more. So let's take a look. So that's 9.2 to Hooper, then add another 17 on top of that. So 20 odd seconds. He could, even down as far as Dan, I think.
He's in the pits, so here we go. Silt is in the pits. He's over the marker board and on the pit limiter. This is a drive-through, not to be mistaken with a stop and go.
As demonstrated by Mike Matthews last week, because of what Kelly Davis did before we went live.
Yeah, luckily that wasn't a live race where I drove through the pits and wondered why I didn't clear my penalty, because it's a stop-go penalty. But hey, never mind. Adventure before dementia, but I think it might be getting closer to dementia.
Ben's through. I think these 3 are going to get him, Kelly. Ben's through. That puts Ben up to 4th. And these 3 are all going to come flying past. He's off the limiter, not even yet. And Dan's here. That is game over. Yeah. Done and dusted. Down to 8th place.
From seconds to 8th place. Now, can Silth do anything about coming back at this? I've got where is he? Oh yeah, I see. The timings are catching up now.
Yeah, it's just updated.
It's quite a way back, isn't it? It's a couple of seconds.
4.8 is Clouden's having a look at Mike Matthews here. 4.8, 6 minutes left. It's just under a second a minute. But Dan has been struggling in that Porsche. So if Dan keeps having moments, then possibly doable to get Dan. If Dan can keep it on the tarmac and point it in the right direction, then no, I don't think he can do it. Well,
we'll see. 6 minutes left of the race, and see how that pans out.
We're watching Mike Matthews and Jamal Clouden at the moment.
Chris saying that Ben eats like a horse and you would struggle to fill him up. Well, there you go. We'll have to invest in some bread or something. You can have bread and butter. That's the kind of team audio sport kind of hospitality you can expect,
The amount of arguing with Ben this week and hearing him complain about the car, he pulled it back again. I've heard a lot of people complain about a lot of cars. Ben this season is the best of the rest in this championship at the moment. When you think of Hooper, Silf and Tardock, we're watching Mike and Clouden bunny hop over the chicane. Dan's got back ahead of Matt Wright. Matt Wright's had a problem. I'm just looking at the track map. Dan is well clear of Matt Wright.
Yeah. Right, what do you think? Went deep on the last
possibly
last couple of corners. Very easy to outbrake yourself.
Lost 2.3 seconds, easy.
It's very easy to outbrake yourself and go into the gravel on that last corner. There's a lot of heavy braking as you go into that section. Possibly that's what's happened. So Dan back once again, and not a million miles away from Overtaker. Overtaker's not going off into the distance. Ben is going to have another solid 4th place. What did he? I mean, all things being equal, we get to the end of the race in 5 minutes' time. What did he have in the first one? Did he have 5th in the first one?
4th.
Well, that boy needs a pay rise.
Tell you. Feed him a few Ginsters, he might get on the podium. Is it time to start considering next season's car yet? No. There's an announcement coming soon. Yeah, but Dan knows what the announcement is, being in the admin team.
What's the announcement then?
It's not ready to be made yet.
Okay, right.
It's not ready to be made yet. Otherwise, it's not. No. So it's no personal. This is for next season's announcement. So there is one coming soon. I won't say on air because finer details haven't been confirmed.
Absolutely.
At the moment, but it will be out before the end of the season, so you will know what plans you have to make for next season.
Okay, well, I'm intrigued. Watch this space. If you're not on Discord, then I'm sure when it happens, you'll hear all about it. We'll talk all about it, and it'll be all over Discord. So
Discord, we'll mention it on stream. We'll mention it everywhere we go. While you are on the channel at the moment, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, the bell to be notified if you are new, and hit that subscribe button as we are now on our approach to 1,000 subscribers. It's not been the thrilling night of action that we've had in pros all season. Mike's pulled away from Clouden once again, though, so that's that pretty much done. But this man, who we've not really seen since the start, has just dominated once again.
Absolutely, yes. Chris in the chat saying we want some hospitality. We're in Launceston for a couple of days in Easter. Well, Launceston is North Cornwall, and it's too close to England. That's not really, not really
too
where we
close
are.
to England.
It is, it's too close to England. So,
you speak like you're a country.
Well, we are. You talk to the Cornish. It's a country of its own. Independence for Cornwall.
I'm sorry, but if I'm not classed as Welsh by a certain Mr. Davis, then you're not. Then you're English as well.
Well, you can talk to Dan then. Talk to Dan about the Cornish, and Cornwall is a place is a country in its own right. It needs independence, So.
Sylph has got onto the back of Matt right now. So here we go. Sylph might get that position, not from Dan. But from Matt Wright, certainly. Last 2 minutes, where's Villeneuve? So this lap, possibly one more. Maybe even two more at the moment.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Closest on track is Sylph on the back of Matt Wright.
Chris wants to be a part of the admin because he's nosy.
Sign up especially for it. He said we're close to you. No, Launceston's really not close. It's as Rob says, it's not proper Cornish. Rob's from Helston. He's close to us, only about 6 miles or so. But Launceston is like 30 or 40 miles. I mean, for Cornwall, that's like that's like a huge distance,
50 miles,
it's a long way, So it's North Cornwall. That's just not the same thing. Same thing.
Chris, we're needing stewards, so if you'd like to be a steward, get your name down to be a steward. Dan's on the back of Overtaker. There we go.
Yeah. Here we go, the old rivals back again, and either Dan's found some pace or Overtaker's got some damage or struggling with pace just into the last dying moments of this race, and Dan gets very
I think Taker's got damage. I can't, just every now and again where Dan's lights flash on the front of Overtaker's car, you just see like a few scuffs and bits. Just as Dan's lights appear on his car, look at it. Leader starts the final. I think there's damage on that Ford Mustang.
Yep, and Dan's going to try and capitalise on it. They've got a lap and a bit to go, so he's got an opportunity. He's all over the back of this Mustang like a cheap suit, and he's having a look down into the penultimate corner. It is an overtaking opportunity if you're close enough there, but he's probably lining up for a run into one. But has that Mustang still got its power? Good traction off the corner for Overtaker.
Yeah.
So he's pulled a little gap already. That might be enough just to keep him in play. Hugs the pit wall. I don't know quite why he needed to do that, but one side to the other, Overtaker all over the shop at the moment. Dan not close enough to put a move into turn one, which I kind of thought would be the case. It's in the squiggly bits.
But look how much he's just gained through Tamburello there, Kelly. He's really gained an awesome amount. It's just this little stretch of straight that Overtaker's going to be fighting on here. So we've got Sylph fighting Matt Wright in the background, and then I'm kind of glad there's not been a lot of action tonight. I don't think my voice would have taken it after recovering from an illness. Taker is all over the place, out of Villeneuve, into Tozer now. He's hanging on in there.
Oh, when he gets up on the curb, gets a little bit loose. Dan gets a little bit too close and just scuffs the back of that already damaged Mustang. But I don't. Whoa, Dan under braking there. Just put a wheel on the grass and just that's the end of that, I think. But as he loses another 2 positions, Dan just got up on the grass. I think he was worried he was going to run into the back of Overtaker there. But that was the end of that one. But
we go from Dan Davis to Tardock because he's going to cross the line with another race win and another fastest lap of the race as he slows down to finish. It is going to be Tardock who wins the race. O'Reilly for a solid second place at the end. Hoopert is going to be back on the podium for third place. Ben Rook, solid fourth place. He's only just come through the penultimate corner. So that shows how far back Ben was from the top three in this one. There's a gaggle of cars coming together, so we're going to ignore Ben. Drive through for Will Freeman. Overtaker squirrely out the final corner at the moment. I thought they was closer together on the track map than what they was. So apologies that we didn't get to see Ben over the line, but it looked a little interesting. Overtaker, though, will take P5 from Matt Wright, Sylph and Dan Davis at the end, and we wait a long time for Mike and Clouden.
Yeah, absolutely. He closed up a little bit there towards the end. Overtaker managed to... Oh, they're all having a little bashing into each other at the end here. I don't think it's malicious, just everyone in the other way. So, good racing there. It all kind of tightened up, as I said, just towards the end. As the last of them come across the line, that'll be Mike Matthews, Clouden, and Friedman with a drive-through. That gets him 30 seconds extra on his time, which I don't know if that will put him behind Hoffer or not, but Hoffer's a lap down. Viper is done as well.
Hoffer's not a lap down. It will only say that until he gets to the line and comes down onto the lead lap. But I think we'll see what Will Friedman was behind. But Mike and Cloud had a great battle towards the end there. Let's see if this Will Friedman and Hoffer thing changes. It does not. 3 seconds Hoffer lost out by in that one. Right, we're going to be back very shortly. We're going to go quiet for a moment as we head into the Discord chat, see if we can get any interviews. Box, and hopefully you can hear me clear. It takes me a little longer than it takes Kelly Davis to get in there because I have to go to my PC to be able to hear all the other drivers, because yet PlayStation doesn't allow it to be streamed from Discord with everybody's voices being heard. So if we want to hear people, we have to go into... I have to use my PC for that, so I have to unplug my microphone from PlayStation to PC. But, Kelly, while we wait for drivers possibly come in, final thoughts, driver of the day?
I was just going to finish off the Cornish thing. Rob Smith saying that any north of Truro is wrong, and Truro is the capital according to his missus, and all that. So basically, don't bother coming down any further than that. That's cool. Imola, I think we've had a great week here. I don't know if Pro was quite that entertaining this evening, but looking forward to the daylight, some warmer conditions next week at Nürburgring. So I mean, racing at SimPlay is a bit like pizza or Chinese food, isn't it? Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Driver of the day, Kelly?
Without being biased, no, sorry, I'll be biased anyway. I'm going for Ben. Good, strong position. 2 fourth places, and we were expecting Tardok to be quick. We're expecting some of the other Mustangs to be quick. We had the heads up that O'Reilly would be quick, but Ben was right in there. 2 fourth places, good drive, solid points. Ben for me.
Yeah, I'm going to give mine the way of Matt Wright. I think the Nissan's a bit of an outdated car, but the fact, good second race, and he got that podium in the first race. I think without the podium in the first race, I'd have joined you with Ben. But I'm going to go Matt Wright tonight. And while I say that,
driver of the day is better than a win, don't you?
It is better than a win, but you'll see why I've just said Matt Wright, because we can now swiftly transition into his interview with him. You see how I've done that?
Yeah, beautiful. You should be a pro. You should do this for a living.
I ought to try and take it up, hadn't I? But we can speak with Matt Wright, who was P3 in race 1. And the Nissan looked pretty good in race 2, Matt. You look solid in that second race. It looks like it's got a good bit of performance out of it.
Yeah. It felt good, surprisingly. Actually, I was struggling a little bit in practice. I wasn't expecting anything out tonight, and it surprised me big time out there. I decided to go long on the strategy because this thing is terrible on tyres. So I was hoping run the first set for as long as possible, and then try and keep the second set as fresh to attack at the end. Well, and it worked.
It was your comment earlier in the week of, I might miss this one, can't see where I'm going, and then you've come away with great results in GT4 and a great result tonight.
Yeah. To be honest, I think the GT. I'm loving the Alpine. You can chuck it around corners, and with the fast sort of flowing corners here, you can really chuck that around, and that sort of gave me a little bit of confidence with this. It's still there was a couple of mistakes out there. I could have possibly got overtaker if I hadn't have made a mistake. Mike Matthews gave me a little love tap, which let Ben back past. So it could have possibly been better, but still very happy with the result.
Yeah, cracking result all around for you in the Nissan tonight. And we go to Nürburgring next, Germany. It's just going to be, I think, another tricky one for that Nissan, because we know it's good on the power, but it could be a different kettle of fish at the Nürburgring. What's it like if it does rain? Do you know that yet?
I think I've had about 2 races in the rain in my entire time, none in this Nissan. So it'll be interesting if it does. They'll have to do some practice. I like Nürburgring, so we'll see how it feels out there. But I haven't done laps at the moment.
Matt, the GTR, you say I haven't driven it. You say it's tough on its. So, with that in mind, were you keeping good temperature in them early on, or were you suffering like everyone else on them being cold?
No, the temperature was quite nice.
Right.
Yeah, didn't struggle, but I think it kind of helps because it's quite an understeery car.
Sure.
So I'm sliding around a lot of those corners on the front tyres, so it's probably helping generate a little bit of heat in them. Yeah, and then I've got the power to then heat up the rears once they spin out.
Light them up, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But between the Nissan and the Alpine in GT4, which night has been maybe not the which was the most comfortable?
To be honest, I sort of surprised myself in this race, and I felt quite comfortable. I made a few mistakes. It was a much easier drive because I wasn't under pressure. The GT4s was a cracking race where I was just calm the bumper either side of me. Whereas this, I had a little bit more freedom to kind of push, not have to worry about anyone attacking from behind. And I feel like, definitely, even with Dan making a few mistakes out there, I feel like I could have caught him anyway. But he did. He looked slow. Did he have punches or a lot of damage? He's slow.
We kind of guessing, of course, but we kind of think the Porsches in general kind of fell off a bit of a cliff. So was there an in-joke there that I missed? Was there?
No, I'm sure we'll hear all about it in the chat.
No doubt, in gory detail. Yeah.
Well, Matt, congratulations tonight on the podium and on the second race. We'll see you next time out at the Nürburgring. If you want to see Matt right back out on the track, he'll be there in the GT4s. I've just joined the server, but nobody's in it, would you believe? So I can't even show you any action at Nürburgring. Just going into next week. But Kelly, Ben Rook takes the driver of the day in the chat as well. And,
better than a win.
Yeah, that's always worth a win, and that's always should I say, one of the more, I'd say, interesting nights for the drivers who's not really been at the front as much this year. We know Matt Wright's taken a race win and now a podium. Ben's 2 fourth places, but we saw the likes of Hooper, Silk and Tardock not have their own nights. They made mistakes both races, and they are beatable.
They are beatable indeed. The second half of the season, there's certainly some tracks, the likes of Alton Park, the English ones for sure, Alton Park, Donny Park, are going to be, I don't think they're going to have it all their own way in those tight and twisty ones, but they might have their own way next week, but there is some interesting tracks to come. I think there's still plenty of action to come in this season.
Indeed there is. Remember to like, subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when we are live. But from all of us here at SimPlay Motorsport, goodbye.
Good night.